26. We're in the Nauset Meeting Room of Town Hall. It's 5:01 p.m. If you wish to join us by Zoom, that link is on the top of our agenda, or dial in by phone. And just a quick note, because this came up with a meeting recently, if you are dialing in by phone, to mute and unmute your phone, press *6, that mutes you. Press *6 again, unmute you. If you want to raise or lower your hand, *9, and there's other functions that ChatGPT tells me, but that should allow you to fully participate. So welcome, everyone. I'll call our meeting to order. Around the table, we have Molly Bates, Administrative Assistant, Andrea Shaw-Reed, Select Board, Kevin Galligan, your Chair, Mark Matheson, Select Board Member, and Mark Reel, Assistant Town Manager. Welcome, everyone. Michael, you're remote, but you generally do this. I'll turn the reading of the preamble over to you.
Okay, let me just, if somebody has it on their agenda, if they could do it, I'm still trying to get my agenda synced up.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Andrea, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we acknowledge with respect that we are inhabiting the traditional lands of the Wampanoag peoples who have always existed here. We value their roles as past, present, and future guardians of this land.
Great, thank you. So under 3, we've got announcements. Before we get to the blizzard update, we've got Chief Deering and Rich Waldo, DPW Superintendent, is here. Any announcements from board members you'd like to make at this point? Staff? Kim, welcome. All right, Jeff, I'm going to go to you for Blizzard of 26 update, and then Rich Waldo. Sound good?
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Jeff Deering, Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director, here with Rich Waldo to do a brief update related to the blizzard of 2026 and the recovery efforts in town since then. As you know, we experienced a historic blizzard last week, and through the efforts of many town departments and staff, our partner agencies, and the town citizens all coming together, I think we've made a lot of progress. The complexity of this event is difficult to fully summarize in a few points, but I'm surely going to try, and I know Rich is as well. We went from 99.6% of the properties in Orleans not having electricity on Monday to Friday morning. It was under 9%, and by Friday afternoon, it was less than 3%. Really a monumental task, given the incredibly harsh environment and the damage to the electrical infrastructure. Some of it was major and complex, the repairs throughout town. We really recognize that this was very hard on our citizens, particularly with the cold weather that came in after, and to our vulnerable citizens. We worked really closely, and I'm proud of the partnership we had with Eversource during the event last week. And a lot of that is from previous events and a relationship that we have worked together to build over the last few years. One of the key successes, and I'll talk about some of the successes and some of the challenges we had too, but one of them was that Eversource puts an embedded liaison, a relations specialist in our emergency operations center starting Tuesday morning. So we had a point person, a contact in town, sitting at the police station where we could connect with and communicate our town priorities. We could get updates from them on a regular basis as far as what their actions were, what they were working on, where crews were deployed, that kind of thing. And that was absolutely key in working through the challenges and addressing public safety and restoring power to our community. I think it's important for just a second, and I will do this as I go, recognizing the people that were involved in that. From Eversource, Ronit Goldstein and our local liaison, Tom Mahoney, were absolutely aces in taking care of our town and getting power back through a really, really tough event. In anticipation of the storm, we looked to identify areas or challenges we might have. We reached out to the Council on Aging. Is there particularly vulnerable citizens that we should be checking on? We checked with the nursing home. Is everything okay there? But one thing that we did know is that one of the generators at the water treatment facility has been having some mechanical challenges. So we were aware of that in advance. Unfortunately, the facility did lose power, like almost everything else in town. And we worked really closely with Eversource once we discovered that, one, the power had gone out, and two, we knew our generator could be in trouble. So one of the first things Eversource did was bring in a backup generator to that facility and work through getting power back there. which turned to be incredibly complicated given the location of the facility within the watershed. But we were able to get power back there eventually, working with Todd Bunzik and the DPW staff and the water staff and Eversource. And that generator never actually got hooked up. It became a really important key component at the regional level because on Thursday afternoon, the 911 center, the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office generator failed. And we knew that we had the generator here in Orleans, and we were able to quickly redeploy it back towards the Upper Cape and get the 911 service back and running with that very same generator.
Wow.
We were lucky for that. Prior to the meeting, or prior to the storm, we had a number of meetings and communications, including twice a day Barnstable County Emergency Planning Conference calls, twice a day Orleans Emergency Management calls. That was police, fire, DPW, and the communications staff. So myself, Chief McDonald, Deputy Chief Diamond, Lieutenant McLaughlin, Rich and Calvin from DPW, Calvin Sutton, Amanda Converse, and Mia Baumgarten, all working together to sort of synthesize the information that was coming in and work on the messaging that was going to our staffs, but also to the citizens in town via the different platforms that we had. I had regular and frequent communication with Kim, our town manager. I also was in communication at the state level with the Mass Emergency Management Agency, sheltering calls, as well as our department level action meetings. So there was tons of meetings, tons of communication, tons of collaboration, and it's really what made this whole thing as successful as it was, in my opinion. I do want to take a second, just recognize the board for having an emergency meeting on Tuesday to declare the local state of emergency, which did allow us to request resources that came in, including some tree crews and saw crews, and we had requested some other items that we ended up not needing, including a generator and a loader. We had some challenges too, and one of the things was sheltering and warming centers. Cape-wide, there were challenges with sheltering with the regional shelter system. In particular, our closest shelters at the Nauset Regional High School that opened on Sunday evening, but by Monday evening, they had a significant power issue that related to the heating system. And on Tuesday morning, that shelter was closed, and residents that were in that shelter were moved to DY. We assisted with that. We transported a number either to the Nauset shelter, to the DY shelter, and then later to the Cape Tech shelter in Harwich. Staffing was a challenge in the shelters with volunteers and particularly medical staff. The medical needs of the people in the shelters is very complex, and having the right resources for them challenged the system that way. But I can assure you that there's a much larger conversation going on right now about sheltering on Cape Cod, because this was one of the largest tests of that system that I can think of in probably close to 20 years. From the fire department standpoint, in the first 48 hours of the incident, we responded to 90 calls for service with an increased staffing of from 6 up to 12 members on duty. But from early Monday morning, really when the snow started flying, to Friday evening, we responded to 105 total calls related to the storm. And just for context, in February 2025, in the whole month, we responded to 192 calls. So we did, half a month's call really in about 5 days. It was really quite a thing. And I think every town department and every agency that was involved in this will say similar things. Right now, we're moving into more of a damage assessment and mitigation phase. So we've been working to tabulate the damage across town and track those costs. I have a call tomorrow with the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency as we're preparing to submit data related to possible reimbursement and declaration of a disaster. Related to that, we put it out in the messaging last week, the end of last week, but encouraging businesses and citizens to take the online survey that was in the messaging as part of that damage assessment. That's important in guiding the reimbursement process, hopefully for all of Orleans. Couple things that worked really well. The level of work that everyone did, the amount of effort that was put out by all the different town staff was really exceptional across all the departments. The cooperation, this is one of the first events we've had of scale with particularly some of the newest members of our town staff. And it was really, really awesome to be part of. Those things worked really well, and I'm really proud of that. We had some challenges too. Communications was a big piece of that. With so much power outage, it affected the internet, it affected cell phones. We had two different significant radio communications failures on Monday related to power that we're going to have to look at solving going forward and addressing those things. The sheltering concerns are clearly things we've got to work on, but we're going to keep working on it. And we always learn something in these events, but there's an awful lot of things that we should be really proud of. And I'm exceptionally proud of as the fire chief and emergency management director, but we're going to continue to look at that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rich, my partner in all this, who's been nothing but awesome. So, Rich, your turn.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Good segue. I'm going to repeat some of the same stuff, but I just want to give a little context to the event itself. So, from my perspective, DPW's perspective, we consider this to be a high hazard event. What we were dealing with there. Not only did it result in significant debris, damage to a lot of our infrastructure, damage to our equipment, and a lot of which will take many weeks for us to recover from. At the height of the storm, we were dealing with not only heavy snow, heavy, wet, sticky snow that was very slick to work with. We had wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. We had falling trees and debris all around us. We lost our radio communications as we were trying to communicate with each other. Both our water and wastewater treatment plant was without power. And, to boot, we had a water main break in the middle of all of this. We had debris falling on our vehicles, and we worked very hard to clear the roads to help facilitate the numerous calls that the PD, the FD, and the EMS were responding to. Chief talked about how many calls that there were, that, we had to require the accessibility to get there. So we worked with them closely on that. Your DPW crews addressed approximately 18 road closures during the peak of the event, mostly from falling trees, as well as supporting the other different department and requests that were coming in at the time. Just another example, at one point when we were trying to clear the path into the well field to identify the infrastructure problems with the power, we had to clear 6 trees to get into the well field. As our crew turned around, we were trapped in with 3 more that were on the way out. So it was a significant event. I think we were prepared for it. We were ready. We had all the equipment ready for a wind event. I just don't think we understood the magnitude of the event. But thankfully, we were prepared. We were ready to go. At the present time, we have contracted with 2 outside tree companies to address the storm debris. Mainly on our primary roads, so those bigger tree companies are dealing with the primary roads, dealing with the bigger tree limbs, hauling out the bigger logs, stuff like that on the shoulder of the road. We also have our own two tree crews that are out addressing all the secondary roads, our parks, as well as our municipal building. We have waived the fee at the transfer station for residents and active ticket holders to dump their debris. Currently, we're waiving that fee through March 10th. We'll consider reviewing that again, should more time be needed. To date, we've waived approximately $8,500 in fees so far, what would typically be collected. The town at this time is asking all residents to manage their own debris on their yard by either contracting with a local company to haul it away, bring it to the transfer station if you're able, or burn it through a proper permit with the fire department. The town is not going around picking up brush outside of the shoulder of the road. So we're trying to just clear out the road, especially as these snowbanks melt and they start to fall into the roadway. We are also taking the time to request that the state clean up their roads. 28 has significant damage. We're requesting that they come in, take care of their roads as well as 6 and 6A. Some notable damage that I should let the board know of. One of our big trucks that was being repaired at a local shop had a tree fall on its cab. We are working with the company's insurance company to determine the extent of the damage. We estimate it to be around $15,000, but also be out of service for an extended period of time. 3 town-owned utility poles that were needed to be installed in our well field to recover power. The damage to these poles also caused an environmental cleanup as the transformers, as they fell, they broke open and they leaked the fluid on the inside. The fluid is a hydrocarbon-based mineral oil. We had, a professional company come in, address the environmental issue, clean it up, and responded within days of the event happening. The cleanup work has been completed, DEP has been notified, but thankfully the cleanup costs will be borne by Eversource on that one. Once we take delivery of the new transformers, they will be installed at our expense. The total restoration cost is approximately $48,000 for that work. Well number 6 will remain out of power and out of service until that power is restored to that facility. We have plenty of capacity in our other wells, primary 1 and 7, to meet demand. But just to let you know, we don't have a time frame on that, but we continue to communicate with Eversource. The outside tree service and debris removal will cost approximately $50,000 when all said and done. We're expecting that they will probably be in town for the next 2 weeks, removing debris. We're still assessing the miscellaneous sign damage, the equipment damage, as well as our vehicles, the dents, the bruises, and all that other stuff associated with the storm. And lastly, take these final moments to acknowledge the hard work of our team that continues to deal with the fallout for the storm. It's been a tough winter for our team, but they keep showing up despite their other commitments that they have with their family, friends outside, as well as giving their body a proper rest. They keep showing up. They keep showing up for these overnight sanding, salting calls that no one notices because they're asleep, but they keep showing up. And then lastly, I just want to acknowledge Jeff and his command of the emergency management team. He is truly a professional. He remained incredibly calm throughout the whole event. I mean, literally things were falling and failing all around us, and Jeff was able to direct this at a very calm approach, had good humor throughout the whole thing, and really took good command of the situation. I have to acknowledge him. It was a pleasure to work with him. Not only was he responsive, but he also ensured that we got results when we needed it. He pushed every button he needed to get something delivered. So he should be commended for that. He did a great job, as well as the rest of the emergency management team. Amanda and her messaging, getting that out. Mia always just being there to get that messaging out. I think they were very informative. I think they got to the real crux of the situation when we were dealing with that hand, and I think the public responded to that very well. The PD team, and of course, our very own Calvin, who did an excellent job managing our own staff. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Rich. And again, compliments to you both, all of the staff. If folks do subscribe or see on the Orleans, I'll get the site wrong, Amanda, but there's an Orleans Facebook page, and as of Friday afternoon, there was a post of all the crew coming together outside the DPW, smiles on their face. It was just a real example of, everybody recognizing the accomplishment of the week and yet celebrating together. Awesome photo, really was. So, board members, questions?
Just a compliment. In fact, at one point, I was texting Kim, where's the afternoon update? We've gotten so spoiled so quickly at the level of service that is provided now for us as residents in the town. And I just have to say, I know, Jeff, I'm amazed you are functioning, and I have a running battle with you about getting sleep during these things, but it was just above and beyond. It was an extraordinary response.
Well said.
Thank you.
Other members?
Sorry I missed it.
Yeah. Oh,
We missed you, Mark.
Everybody's got to be somewhere. But I do, as my daughter was sending me texts and pictures of things going on in town while I was away, and I told her, I said, this reminds me of Hurricane Bob in terms of the damage. I mean, the snow that we got down here for this storm wasn't all that radical. When I was coming back home, driving down over the bridge late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, I was just amazed at the mounds of snow that were piled up on the side of Route 6 on the Mid-Cape. It was like driving through a tunnel. Thankfully, we didn't have that much down here, but the tree damage and the power loss and whatnot reminded me of Hurricane Bob with the destruction. And, I also remember we used to have people like Ardith Reynolds that would be out supplying hot coffee and sandwiches and whatever for the crews that were working and stuff. And I know that picture that you alluded to Friday, that the Chamber of Commerce, I think, with Judy Lindahl and some volunteers, and the graciousness of many of the restaurants and places in town that provided, food and beverage for all of those people as a thank you to them. And I think, it's great to see the spirit of the people in this town and how they just work together to get things done. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Well said. Meth?
Yeah, a couple of things. I often am sort of a cynic about things, but that event was really a way that made me feel really grateful and fortunate that I live in Orleans and can be sort of protected by what we have in place here. And it was really an awesome job, and I'm really grateful, personally.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just would like to echo what the rest of the board has said. I was there during the storm and lost power, as I know the chief said 99.6% of us did. A lot of residents reached out during the time. I was able to direct them to town staff. They responded amazingly calmly and addressed what they could with those residents. And it was just, it's an unfortunate situation, but it was amazing to watch the teams at work. And I think Meth and I were fortunate to be there on Friday and talk with the crews and employees and all, of course, DPW and fire and police and town. And it really was amazing to see everybody come together and pull through this. So a big, huge thank you to Jeff and Rich and Kim and everybody else, Amanda and everybody else who was, of course, involved. It was a proud time for Orleans during a difficult situation. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I know I've been taking notes. Rich, you've kind of dropped a few hints of things to come. So for anyone listening, we know we have work to do, including preparations in advance on communication, equipment, preventive things that we can do. But Jeff, I'll just close by thanking you for just a few months ago in the summer, you had an intern from Mass Maritime update the emergency management plan. I think you used every page of that plan. So well done, you guys. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
can I just ask a little, the state of emergency local, are we over that?
Jeff?
We are probably going to lift that tomorrow. I have a conversation scheduled with Mass Emergency Management, and I believe the needs that we have related to the state of emergency have been met, but I want to make sure I close that out appropriately with them. So, and I have a scheduled call with them tomorrow. So more to come on that related to state of emergency, but I believe we're going to wrap that up tomorrow.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Michael. And for folks to know, when we ordered that, Jeff has that discretion to lift it. So totally up to you, Chief. All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
I just a few quick thanks, and Mark alluded to it, but I just want to give a quick thanks to Judy Lindahl at the Chamber of Commerce for helping us put together an appreciation lunch on Friday with about a dozen of the local businesses to recognize and just to give a quick break to the town staff that was involved. And she helped put that together in about 36 hours. And it's very much appreciated. And all the businesses that participated in that, we're very, very grateful. And I just want to make sure that that is publicly acknowledged as part of this.
Thank you. All right. Any last comments? Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. We do have public comment. We've got a hearing that we're a little late for, so I'll open public comment. Anyone here for public comment? Please.
Good evening. My name is Sean DeLude, 317 South Orleans Road. I'm a longtime resident and business owner here in Orleans. I'd like to commend all the public employees, private citizens, and certainly the board here for all the actions taken last week. It's the kind of activities and actions that make a citizen of this town really proud of the town of Orleans. However, tonight I'm here as a survivor of the Community of Jesus, often referred to as the COJ, located here in our town. I left when I was 15 years old, and for decades I've spoken openly about the abuse, exploitation I experienced growing up there. For many years, the Community of Jesus has been the subject of consistent public reporting and survivor testimony describing allegations of abuse, coercive control, and exploitation. Recently, several legal complaints have been filed referencing allegations that include abuse, violations of child labor laws, and potential human trafficking. These are serious claims that are now public record. Just last week, the Provincetown Independent published an article titled, "Abuse Was a Tool at the Compound, Past Residents Say." In that article, the newspaper reports that it interviewed 24 survivors of the Community of Jesus. According to their accounts, some described practices including humiliation rituals, family separation, and forced labor using as forms of control within the group. 7 of those individuals also reported witnessing or experiencing physical punishment among teenagers. The article also named several Orleans residents who are associated with the COJ and who hold visible roles within our community, including business ownership and service on local boards and committees. After 50 years, many survivors continue to ask important questions. Are appropriate authorities fully investigating these claims? Are children being adequately protected? Is there transparency and accountability where it's needed? These are not questions rooted in anger, but in care for those who were harmed and for those who still may be inside in need. So tonight I would respectfully ask this board 2 questions. First, is the town aware of the serious allegations and legal complaints that have been raised regarding the Community of Jesus? Second, what steps, if any, are being taken by the town or appropriate authorities to ensure the safety and well-being of individuals, particularly children, who may be living within this community? My name is Sean DeLude. I'm also the president of a nonprofit called Rock Harbor Truth. Rock Harbor Truth's mission is to support survivors of spiritual abuse, coercive control, and institutional exploitation through advocacy, education, storytelling, and access to care. If we can be of any assistance, or if you'd like to learn more about our work, please visit us at rockharbortruth.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sean. Anyone else for public comment? Mary, please.
Hi, I'm Mary Little. Meth and Mark, your name tags are reversed.
Reversed.
You weren't here, so I saw.
I just wanted to, I saw that you were doing a blizzard update, so I wanted to give a little perspective.
Mary, could you just pull the mic a little
Sure,
bit down?
I have a
Thank you.
really soft voice, I
Well,
know I do.
People want to hear you.
Last week, during the power outage, I volunteered with CERT to man warming stations in Harwich, Brewster, and Orleans. I was in Brewster 1/2 day, and I was in Orleans 2.5 days. The Orleans warming station was in the town hall. It was great to have a warm place for folks to come and stay to keep warm. Some people stayed all day to work on their computers. Everyone came to charge their electronic devices, including hearing aids. I think many stayed longer than they planned because they liked the company of others, and their homes were very cold. Many said that by Thursday, the temperature in their houses was 35 degrees. I want to thank the town for opening the town hall for that purpose. But I also want to say a few things about the way it was handled. I am speaking as someone who lives in town, not as a CERT volunteer. The warming station was open for 9 hours each day. The only source of refreshment was provided by Roberta Anslow. She brought her coffee maker, hot water brewer, coffee, tea bags, milk, and cardboard coffee cups. She should be recognized for her effort, thoughtfulness, and money spent to give the folks something warm to drink. Remember, no one could make coffee in their freezing houses. Thank you, Roberta. A bag of chips and 3 boxes of cookies were brought by some people coming to warm up. There was an organization, MAC, I don't know who that was, they were from off Cape, who brought water and granola bars on Thursday. The day I worked in Brewster, the town supplied hole-in-one donuts, and they had coffee makers and hot water for tea. I was told the donuts were provided by funds from the Council on Aging. It would have been a nice gesture for the town to have contributed some refreshment, nourishment to those folks who came to the warming station. Another observation was that at no time did anyone from town leadership pop in to check on everyone and show some concern for their well-being and offer a town hello. The fire department was there before it opened, mainly to let us know what we couldn't do. We couldn't eat in the room because it would dirty it up. We couldn't take showers because there's a shower downstairs. And we couldn't go into the employee lunchroom. Nothing positive. I do understand Hadley Luddy stopped by the first day to check in. Thank you, Hadley. People wanted to thank officials from the town. They were so appreciative, but no one came by. And on Friday, the last day, in a day it seemed the town hall would finally have opened, a lot of people came in to pay their water bills that were due on Monday. A few came by on Thursday, so I brought envelopes I had at home on Friday. People could then put their checks in the envelopes and put them in the metal box outside. I used up all my envelopes. And there were several others who came to speak to different departments. They all deserved an explanation. I spent most of the time talking to the people that came in the front door. Others had cash or they wanted a stamped receipt, so they said they would come back, but that meant a second trip for them. I know some staff were in the building, but they used the front and back entrances to not come in the main entrance. So there was no coffee or anything except for the granola bars because Roberta had gotten her power back and she didn't come on Friday. You know, granted, we didn't have as many people on Friday, but there were still people. As welcoming and effective the warming station was, I do feel Orleans could have done better. I hope in the future, when something like this presents itself, the town will make a better effort to welcome the people who come to ease their situations. The leaders of the town and the administration of this town need to see the town when it is in crisis, not just for special events. Oh, and I want to extend a big thank you to Chester. I think you all know who Chester is. What a friendly guy. If no one else took the time to come by, you had a great guy to help greet folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for your comments.
Yeah.
Anyone else, please? Scott?
Afternoon, Scott Zanke, Doan Road. Thank you. Yes, my hat's off to both Rich and Jeff for an outstanding job along with the other town employees. I've been through a few of these myself, and given time, it's just a blip on the radar. What I want to discuss tonight is the meeting Monday night of the Fire Building Committee. We're looking at a $62 million warrant where we have zero design. We only have interior schematics at this point. We've got 2 months left before this thing goes to vote. We have zero test pits. We have no civil reports. This building is going to be large. It's larger than a commercial building because you've got 20-ton and 30-ton trucks going to be parked inside. A portion of the building is going to be built on virgin. Majority of it's going to be built on fill. 17,000 cubic yards of fill has to be brought in. That's 1,000 truckloads coming down Eldridge Parkway to dump material and 1,000 empty trucks pulling out, all coming through the elementary school parking lot at the entrance, where the new entrance will be to the back lot for the build. We're going to need a zoning setback. You're going to need a construction easement because the building is right tight to the property line. We're going to set precedent here. Any contractor wants to come in here now and set a building right tight without a setback can just say the town's able to do it, why can't I? We don't know if we're going to be sewer or septic. There's no design as of yet for OES parking or the bus drop-off, is what was mentioned during the meeting. As I said, 17,000 cubic yards of material need to be brought in. The site is not available until next year, so whatever we're rushing this for, we're not making any time. We're actually putting more money into a very marginal site at best, and we have no answers so far, and yet we have 2 months. So any advertising is going to be a schematic of a building that we can only say might look like this as a firehouse. There is no design. We have no actual drawings of what this project's going to look like. We don't need any sheeting. It's not very common in Massachusetts, but in Connecticut, it's a wire wall. It's put in without special equipment. Laborers put it in, and it's a design that holds structures up to 100 feet tall. We're looking at a 20-foot fill on this project. You drive sheeting, you're going to be driving that 15 feet into the ground for a 20-foot elevation change. You're going to need tiebacks into the project as you're going. That's not accounted for. The warrant which we have a placeholder for, should ask for $2.4 million for 1.4 acres of the adjacent property. The going price on that, on the existing parcel was $37.80 per square foot. That's what we paid. So if you break that down and multiply it by the acreage on the adjacent property, your fill and your sheeting wall are gonna pay for the purchase of that property. There's more, you're gonna have a surplus of material on that property. So if we have any meetings left with that owner, we best off send somebody that can negotiate and close the deal, because time's running out. And it'd be money more than well spent on a debacle that's gonna be coming down the road. I talked with a very good friend of mine who was a retired ACOM lead engineer. He was the lead engineer on the Q Bridge down in the Haven, very large project. He said, you're dead in the water if you don't get this foundation right, because in a couple of years, that'll be a crack. Then you're shifting in your slabs, settlement, what have you. Additional rebar, spread footings, all this stuff's got to be designed before you even start to put a price on it. And we're not there yet. So I would recommend we hold off. Let's get the additional piece of property, which is going to be money well spent in a project that we can be proud of for years to come.
Thank you,
So,
Scott.
Thank you for your
Any
time.
other public comments? Please.
Good evening. My name is Judy Scanlon, Monument Road. First, I am very proud of our town and how they rose to the challenges and hazards associated with responding to the recent severe snowstorm. Thank you, everyone. I have been involved as an Orleans water quality volunteer and past member of the town's Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee with only brief breaks for 25 years. I strongly support all the water quality funding requests being made for our estuarine and freshwater systems that you'll be reviewing and discussing tonight. The town has done an outstanding job for decades working towards restoring water quality in our natural resources, and as a result has seen certain gradual water quality improvements over time. Continued support for these funding requests will allow the town to continue its goals to monitor and restore water quality, address excess nutrients, make informed resource management and protection decisions, and assist the town in continuing to meet its wastewater needs. Your consideration and support for these water quality funding requests are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. One last call. Any other public comment? Susan? I do need to wrap it up, so you'll be the last public comment individual, please. We are way beyond time here.
It's exciting to see so many people here.
It is.
My name is Susan Milton. I live on Honeysuckle Lane. I'm a member of the Council on Aging Board. And I'm here really at the suggestion of the town manager and select board, Andrea Reed, because the board had a meeting this afternoon. I am the author of a petition article that was submitted earlier this week to fund and hire a assistant to the Council on Aging director. I brought it to the rescheduled meeting of our Council on Aging board because it was a goal of ours all year to seek this through the budget or through town meeting, on the floor of town meeting, which is where I felt we ended up when the selectmen last week delayed action on that article, on that position in the budget until the fall, when excess levies may be available. So I proceeded and got a petition and got the signatures and submitted it by the deadline last Tuesday. So today, since I wasn't able to talk to the rest of the council before that, I asked for a support, and we had a great discussion this afternoon. And the Council on Aging did vote to support the petition article, which is presented as an amendment to the budget of the annual town meeting. The vote was 3-2 in favor. However, all five of us favor funding this position. The suggestion was made that I come and show the resolve, I guess, of that this is moving forward to the annual town meeting, but perhaps the selectmen would like to consider an override to support this, or maybe money would become available. I don't know. The article now, out of respect really for the budget process that I admire a lot, and the selectmen and the finance committee and the town administration, was a raise and appropriate to avoid disturbing any of the budget that you've all set up. So raise and appropriate is the source, and it was also suggested to, because I think that's the most direct, because it adds taxes. Voters will have to want this enough to pay the taxes. And if necessary, the article says go to an override. So that's how it's set up now. So I was just asked to be here, and I don't know if you have questions. I would prefer not to stay toward the warrant articles, but I wanted to stress how important the council thinks adding this position and hiring somebody to fill it is for the continued good work by the council staff during a time of rising demand in a town that's more than 50% senior citizen. So, thank you, that's the message.
Thank you.
And anything else?
Susan, I'm going to stick to our policy of no response during public comment. You're welcome to stay, and if anyone wishes to comment during articles, you're welcome to do so.
Great,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, Peggy, I'm just going to check on Zoom. Anyone on Zoom that may have hit *6 or *9 or whatever to come in and wish to speak?
No hands raised.
Okay, we'll close public comment. And with apologies for the 5:15 folks who've been waiting for now a half an hour, I'll read a notice. Town of Orleans, public hearing, Nauset Gastronomy Incorporated, doing business as The Rail. Notice hereby given under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, the Nauset Gastronomy, Inc., doing business as The Rail, Cameron Hadfield, manager, located at 222 Main Street, Orleans, has applied to the Select Board for a change of license class. The applicant seeks to convert their existing annual on-premises all alcoholic beverages restaurant license to a seasonal on-premises all alcoholic beverage restaurant license. A public hearing will be held March 4th, 2026 at or after 5:15 p.m. in the Nauset Meeting Room, Orleans Town Hall, 19 School Road, Orleans, at which time all interested parties will be heard. Cam, would you like to come up, say a few words? And folks, as Cam's coming up, we've got a memo and a packet from Laura St. John Dupuis summarizing the background. So, Cam, always good to see you.
Hi, how are you guys? Yeah, quick nutshell. I believe all of you have been on the board the whole time we've been in business. So we're approaching our, wrapping up our 5th year really, into the 6th season. Plenty of time to kind of really assess the best thing for the business. Obviously we've grown a little bit, taken over the Barley Neck. The biggest constraint we're dealing with is year-round effective kitchen staffing, which is the problem. So by moving, right now we do kind of a blended seasonal model anyway under the annual license laws. This would allow us to tighten, basically it allows us to tighten our season, trimming March and December at the least, or tightening all the way into a full seasonal model. We've talked about this a little bit on our side, maybe the past two years. We lost a few key people this year, just moving on, different careers, that kind of thing. And so the reasoning behind us continuing to stay annual was really to support some of our staff at the cost of some of the profit, some of the feasibility of running the business. That's shifted for those people, and so we kind of find ourselves at this stage too.
Flexibility is key in your business. Thank you.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people that work double, so
Absolutely.
trying to balance things.
So, because this is a public hearing, anyone from the public wish to comment on this change? Peggy, anyone from Zoom wish to comment?
No hands raised.
Okay. Perhaps a motion to close?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
Moved and seconded. We need to do it by roll call. Michael, how do you vote?
I, Michael Herman.
I, Andrea Reed.
Hi, Kevin Galligan.
Hi, Mark Matheson.
I'm Efron.
Okay, public hearing's closed. Is there an action the board would like to take?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the application for Nauset Gastronomy, Inc., doing business as The Rail, located at 222 Main Street in Orleans, and that we change its license class from an annual all-alcoholic beverages license to a seasonal all-alcoholic beverage license. The approval is subject to all local and state permits, regulations, laws, and bylaws, and in accordance with the Town of Orleans Rules and Regulations of the Liquor Licensing Authority, Section C, Paragraph 2. Temporary closings of restaurants and/or inns, and Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138. The change would become final after approval from the Massachusetts Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion on the vote? I'll call for a vote. Michael?
I'm Michael Herman.
I, Andrea Reed.
Hi, Kevin Galligan.
I'm Mark Matheson.
I'm Efronian.
Unanimous. Thank you, Cam.
Thank you.
Good luck, you guys. And thanks for your support through the storm. Appreciate it. All right, next up, Wastewater Management Advisory Committee. I thought George was going to be here, but I'm happy to handle this one. In your packet, you've got a memo that was dated February 12th, 2026 from the Wastewater Management Advisory Committee. They have taken a number of months to follow through on what the town meeting voted at Article 26, evaluated a number of items that could be considered in terms of short-term, low cost. I emphasize those items. They're in the packet in terms of what we discussed with the community on January 22nd. We've come down to 3. One is basically advancing a shellfish aquaculture project that will require some funding, and permeable reactive barrier on Deer Run, and last, to reemphasize the limited use of fertilizer. And George, I think you're here. So I've kind of reviewed the memo, the meeting, and
Which of the 6 chairs should I take today?
anything you'd like to add?
I think we have a preliminary recommendation, because we haven't quite finished the study, we haven't done the cost estimates, but the 3 recommendations, Kevin, do you want to get into the article request yet, or just the recommendation of the
It's
committee?
a recommendation.
Yeah. I think the committee has looked at a variety of alternatives for short-term improvements to Mill Pond, and they have come down to the 3 that Kevin mentioned. Fertilizer is something we're waiting on the legislation that's pending at the state level. The PRB is something we can program in with other PRBs that we are considering for other parts of the town. And what feels like right now a real winner is to do a project similar to Lonnie's Pond in the Mill Pond. It would probably be a little bigger because it's a bigger pond, but right now, with what we know now, it doesn't look like there are any showstoppers from that project going forward. So when we talk about the article, we can talk about the particulars of that.
That's where George is referring. If you looked at the package Mark sent out just a few minutes before our meeting, it included the request from George that would fund advancing at least 1, if not 2 of these.
Right.
Questions of the board?
Yeah, of course.
Please.
Of course. And I don't mean to open a can of worms, but in the history of the solutions considered, I saw that sewer and then pump all the way to the water treatments, or pump to a satellite. Can you define, because in other areas of town where we've built packet treatment plants on site. Was that considered, or is that the referral to sewer to satellite?
It is considered. One of the real difficulties there is to find a disposal site that does not have sensitive receptors around it that would be acceptable by the community.
Right.
So that, plus the cost of the collection system, put that in a lesser category as far as the scoring.
Thank you.
And one of the things we learned through this, and again, we've got, George, AECOM, as well as Wright Pierce, Mike Giggs. If you are disposing in a satellite in this, what will become a sensitive area, you have to account for that discharge.
Yes.
So when you
Where
send
would
it to
you
the
go? Right,
plant,
right.
you're getting
Sewer more.
100% credit. So there really was a trade-off on that.
And it may help us. The reason I ask is because we have other places in town where, like near Pilgrim Lake, where eventually we may be dealing. They're just, it's good to learn with each pose of solution, what are the constraints. So I just needed to hear it. Thank you.
So since we have not finalized the report, When it is final, I'd like to send it to the board and be available, perhaps with our engineer, to come in and just talk through any questions we may have on the final report.
Part of the pace of this was to get the board enough information to support article for town meeting to keep the momentum going. There is more coming, so thank you, George. Mev?
I just wanted to ask a few questions about the fertilizer component to this, because the sort of understanding in town as to what we have in fact legislated and what we can enforce is, I think, a little bit misunderstood. As I understand it, the 100-foot in jurisdiction segment that is under the CONSCOM is an enforceable fertilizer prohibition. Likewise, town-owned properties are an enforceable or controllable thing. The rest of it is enforced how?
So the main other tenet of the existing fertilizer control bylaw is a time of year restriction on when you can apply, and there's some obvious restrictions on, please don't put fertilizer on hard surfaces and things like that. But as far as the time of year restrictions, the fertilizer companies come in and they're gone before you can even make a phone call. So it is something that is difficult to enforce right now, and I don't think it's generally enforced. When this bylaw was approved several years ago, I think the main intent was that it was a placeholder and a statement of the town of how the town felt about trying to eliminate this one pollutant that goes in with all the other things that go into the groundwater.
If I can add to that, Matt, if you notice at the tail end of the memo, the Wastewater Management Advisory Committee didn't feel it was their place to deal with open items like enforcement that you raised, but we've, based on a comment made at our public information session, the suggestion was to find any incentives that would encourage people to not put fertilizer on, and one of them was free shellfish permits or similar incentives to those residents who commit not to apply fertilizer. So again, out of the purview of wastewater management, but certainly something this board and others could consider.
Mr. Chair, can I follow up
Please.
on that? You know, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did have, in the 15 years I've been around between planning board and select board, we did have a phone call one time for somebody with fertilizer. We did try to enforce it because we saw a commercial contractor spreading in ways that were not, that were going into drainage water, I believe. So it's not unheard of and can be done. But I wanted to follow up on the incentive because I also think, like Falmouth, carrots work better than sticks, and we ought to creatively think about incentives for alternative toilets to keep the urine from coming into any fresh or salt water. So I'd like to throw that into the creative compost, so to speak.
If the board did take a look at the summary and categorized response on all of what we heard of the public comment, we are aware of the Falmouth demonstration. They are going through a number of hurdles that they have to overcome, including availability of suitable fixtures, and then get public participation. So it is definitely on the Wastewater Management Committee. I'm looking at a number of members, even in the crowd here. We know it, we're following it, we're certainly happy to share once we learn.
Thank you for those notes, Mr. Chair, about the meeting, that meeting.
Matt, more?
Well, I could go on forever with the fertilizer, so
ahead.
I'll just, well, I guess the time of year restriction that's in place, what does that do to nitrogen loading in the in impaired water body? It does nothing, as far as I can see.
If you consider that an application is probably the same strength application, and you eliminate some on the front and tail end of the summer, you've reduced the total mass of fertilizer that's being put in the ground.
But stop
If
it.
I may?
Yes, please, go ahead, Michael.
I think the time, Meth, the time is from October 31st to April. So nobody's putting on fertilizer anyways during those months. So it's not reducing really anything. It's kind of, we wouldn't be, nobody's putting fertilizer on in January and February and even March right now. So it is what it is. I mean, I hear what Andrea said about the carrot and the stick. I guess the way I look at this is the Mill Pond residents came to the town and asked them to do a study, and I appreciate speaking with George and Mike and Tim during the process. And they wanted to know what the town could do and what they could do to help Mill Pond, because we all love Mill Pond. We want to see it healthier. And, you know, whether we give incentives or not, in my opinion, the incentive is the cleaner the water. I mean, if you want cleaner water, we can't put things in we know, even in this report, are recommending that may harm it. We can wait around till, you know, bylaws pass or legislation and home rule petitions pass at the State House, which, you know, we're going to keep pushing and keep trying. But this report gives us the answer. Fertilizer is damaging this water body. Let's just stop using it. And it could be voluntarily, like we have asked the other areas and other neighborhoods that have looked at their water bodies and wanted them cleaner, and we've supported that. So it really almost just comes down to let's do the right thing in knowing what hurts our waters and stop doing it. And one thing I didn't notice, George, if I could add in lastly, is, and I know this is not final, but what I don't see here with the fertilizer is, you know, how are we going to bring more awareness to this? And we always talk about enforcing. I'm just talking, what can we do about awareness and education? Is that going to be in the final version of what the suggestion is?
If I may, Kevin, I think the committee's discussion was, let's find out if we have legislation that will give us an enforceable bylaw. That's one track, and that gives you a way to deal with the issue. But if we don't have that, absent that, I think the public relations program that you're talking about, Michael, will be what we have to really emphasize and be careful about how we roll out and try to be as aggressive as we can to make that work.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what you think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know what bylaw you think we can enact. We have what we have, and that's all we can do. And the only way around that is to do a home rule petition, which the town has passed and supported. There isn't really any other ways to create bylaws. Am I missing something?
My understanding is there is a home rule petition at the state Massachusetts
Right.
legislature right now that is pending, and we'd like to see the outcome of that.
Before we do anything?
It probably happens in this legislative session.
We'll know by
Or it goes stale, so that will probably be an answer that we'll have to,
Okay, because it's already gone through the one legislative session, and then it got re-upped for the second session, which it's in now, which many of these whole room petitions can last multiple sessions. So I want to help address Mill Pond. They asked for immediate, to address, not wait for a couple of years till a home rule petition may or may not pass. I hope we can be proactive now. Thank you.
make sure we pass that message on to the committee in their final deliberations, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, thank you for a number of the wastewater management advisory committee members here. A lot of work went into just getting to this point, you guys. This has been, I'll just speak, as one of the members of that committee, there has been one public commenter who has utilized a lot of our time and a lot of consultants' time. And it's helped inform in some cases, but it's taken a lot of time to get here, as captured in the notes. So I don't think there's any vote expected on this, George, right? Just
an update.
More to give you an update, because it does lean into the warrant articles for funding both the PRBs coming down the road, but more importantly, the aquaculture.
Can I ask a
Please,
question?
yeah.
Just, in terms of the use of fertilizer on property, and I understand where we are now with our home rule petition, I understand the bylaw that we have, the ineffectiveness of that and whatnot, but is there a way, other than that present bylaw that we have, where we could require permitting for the use of fertilizer? That, and I think because we alluded to earlier with the storm cleanup, where, people can burn their brush or whatever when you get the permit from the fire department, when it's okay or whatever, kind of thing. So we do have that ability to control what somebody does in their own backyard in terms of, burning brush, and you can only do it with a permit, and there are certain precautions that need to be taken and awareness of the town that it's going on. Is there a similar tack that we can take that would require people to get a permit in order to fertilize?
So it's a legal question for sure, but I'm not aware of anything outside of the wetland buffer jurisdiction in which you can require a permit for activities, for that kind of activity. But I think it's a legal question we can bring up. Is there a way to back into what you were trying to accomplish with the laws that exist today?
Yeah, because the burning permits are not contingent on wetlands or uplands or
Right.
anything else, So I'm just wondering if we're able to do it for a burning permit, would we be able to do it for something like fertilizer?
Good question.
More research needed.
Question.
Good question.
And whether we do it based on
Yep.
access to water flow, groundwater flow, or we do it to extend to the conservation.
To protect the environment.
Yeah,
If
but
we have a scientific basis, then, yeah.
But you could blanket it in by just extending the conservation buffer.
Just like the other recommendation that we didn't really opine, but popped in the memo, was a suggestion that someone said, don't build ADUs in
Yeah.
areas that are sensitive. Again, it's certainly not something wastewater management wants to take on, but certainly,
Unless you're going to opt out of another bedroom.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
There are all kinds of tease outs.
but we also know the mechanics that developers are using to get more bedrooms, even in nitrogen-sensitive areas. They're innovative alternative systems, and there are all these maneuvers that are available to them. But where Mark's going is, we have no teeth in any of, as Meph is saying, no teeth in any of our enforcement on fertilizer. So, okay. So, thank you, George, and again, thanks to the entire committee of consultants for the work on this. So you've got an update on that. Really good news on Pleasant Bay watershed permit, George?
Let me just give you the quick snippets. The Pleasant Bay watershed permit for the 4 towns of the Pleasant Bay Alliance. It was filed as approved by this select board. It was approved February 10th, 2026. That was the permit issuance date. And that is the date that starts the 20-year clock for 75% compliance of the nitrogen removal requirements that each of the 4 towns has. So because that clock kind of got reset, Orleans is in a very good position where we're ahead of the schedule that is necessary. We will fulfill our obligations up in the upper 90% by the time we get to that 20-year period if things continue as they go. The permit only requires 5-year reporting, which is it takes an administrative, bureaucratic time crunch away from some of the work so we can concentrate on the work at hand. So, this commits all towns to do what they said they were going to do. I think that's the key for Orleans. We know that the other communities will also do their fair share. The last thing I want to say to you here, adopting a watershed permit avoids the requirement in the DEP regs for IA systems townwide or watershed-wide, and that's one of the big reasons why this was necessary. The last follow-up may be an amendment to the intermunicipal agreement between the 4 towns, just to clean it up, since it hasn't been cleaned up in 5 or 6 years now. So it's probably just administrative, but we'll be bringing that to your board either as an individual board or as the 4 convene together, maybe in the spring. Thank you.
Yeah, just a note on this. We all know it, but it's worth saying, this was the first in the state. 4 towns working together on a regional basis and actually getting along pretty good. I mean, the thing is, Chatham's contributing this amount, Brewster this amount. You can actually see, how it's all moving. And, we're popping in our phases 1, 2, and 3, and, everybody's working together. So it can work. So, all right. Any questions on Pleasant Bay watershed permit? All good? George, thanks very much. I know you put a lot into this, so there's so many people, but it speaks well to what, I think even Mike, you said it. The end result is better water quality. That's what we're all trying to do. not little maneuvers here and there, so.
Yes, thank you. I'll stick around
It
for
is.
other items on your agenda.
All right, Mark Rail, next up, annual town meeting warrant article review.
Oh, lovely. Should I get up there? Do you want to put up the language up here, or would you rather me just walk you through? How would you like me to do that?
What do folks think? I mean, we've got, this is so preliminary, I don't know that it's gonna provide value to the audience, right? Kim's nodding.
I'd say go through the list.
through the list.
In a little bit more detail,
Right, yeah.
right?
So, we're actually ahead of the game, which is great.
Don't say that.
You have, in terms of your draft language there, is further along than I've been in any of the 3 annual town meetings I've put together for you, so I feel pretty good about that part. So you'll see our consent calendar, typically, those 11 articles that we had last year are the same. Article 1 is report of select board, town officers, and special committees. Article 2 is to fund elected officials' compensation at $16,250.
Not enough. I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
We haven't had a raise in a while.
True.
That is for the select board, the constables, and the moderator. Article 3, and these are some that we're going to be working with town council on in terms of the need, acceptance of transportation bond bill funds, looking at the language of that. Article 4, hold harmless for work. This is another one of the long-standing articles that want to work with council on ensuring they are necessary. Article 5, again, same authorization to sell surplus equipment and accept gifts. There's language in statute that talks about this, so again, is this necessary to keep these articles going? Article 6 is to authorize the spending limits for the departmental revolving funds. One note here is that under on the Council on Aging, the spending limit request is increased here from $75,000 to $100,000.
One quick suggestion, Mark, I mean, I know this is a first pass, but under explanation, could you make note of that change?
Yes. Let me just put that here so I don't forget. Okay. Article 7 is your continuation of your municipal rental revolving, oh, yes.
Can we back up just on
course.
one expense item?
Sure.
Under recreation, does that right now include the cultural kind of funding for the OCD or any other? Is it all
No.
recreation, or is it recreation and culture
No,
It's
the
just
revolving
recreation.
account for recreation.
only?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Article 7, continuation of municipal rental revolving accounts. This is for conservation properties, seasonal housing properties, and the community building at 44 Main Street. This is to collect rents from those revenues and then to be able to utilize those to pay costs related to those properties. Article 8 is to fund other post-employment benefits, OPEB liability trust fund. This is your annual contribution in the amount of $450,000. Article 9 is, as you remember from last year, there's been a bit of a change in how the Article 9 and 10, which are appropriations from your water quality drainage improvement stabilization fund and your pavement management program stabilization fund. The select board actually is the one that will be appropriating the funds into those stabilization accounts, and town meeting will then appropriate out of those accounts. So this is the action there in 9 and 10. Article 11 is transfer of water service connection funds. This is again an annual contribution at $35,000. And that's your consent calendar.
All under one motion, unless someone wishes to pull an item out, right?
Exactly. Article 12 is the funding of the new construction, or the construction of the new fire rescue station. We know that there's, the numbers will be filled in as we get closer to the end of the process of putting together the warrant. We'll have more detail then.
Can we stop and talk about this
Yeah,
since
sure.
it's here? I mean, I think since we can't address some other things, I think it's important to remember that we can't buy things that aren't for sale. As much as we might want them, we do try, and we will try, but we cannot guarantee that at this point. What we can control and guarantee is that we purchased a piece of land and will have not exact designs, but better schematic designs and a number to bring to town meeting in May. There's nothing that delaying from May to September will change. There's no additional information that's gonna be gained in that period of time. So we will have a number, we're confident we'll have a number, we're confident that we'll have schematics. And it's a good reminder that what is being voted on, as it says here, is, at the town meeting, is the authorization to borrow the funding that we need to build. It won't decide what it looked like, it won't decide where it is, it's only basically saying, yes, we wanna fund it. We will do a ballot question and we'll keep moving forward. And, you know, we have a lot of time between now and then, which is, I should say not a lot, we have 2 months between now and then to continue all of the outreach that we already started with the very well-engaged fire rescue headquarters page that we have that has a ton of information that's updated regularly. We highly encourage anyone who's very curious about it to go there. The committee just met on Monday. They did make a key decision about the number of stories, which they decided on 2 unanimously. So that project is ongoing. So if someone wants more information about it or they have questions, they should reach out and we will tell them what's going on, right? We want the same as everyone else, which is we want to build this thing, we want to build it the right way, we want to build it as soon as possible, and we're not cutting corners to go faster. We literally are moving forward in the best way that we can, so.
If I can add to that, only because I sat in the back of the room, and Mark, you can add too, since we're talking about this article. It's very important that we keep this on the May funding for the reason that, at least I've experienced, and it works, in wastewater management funding. We don't have our final design, and we're talking pumping stations, location of all these pipes. That is not known to anybody at the time we bring this to town meeting. What we do know is the town making a commitment to appropriate dollars when they're necessary be borrowed. And we're talking years out. Says to all of us, says to our engineers, here's the scope, here's the services, here's what we expect you to do. But further, it says to the state entities and other funding organizations, this town is committed, so it opens the door to grant opportunities, which we would never have.
It's to leverage our commitment.
Exactly. So this is not new to us. So those that stand up and are fearful of, we're not going to be ready, we will be ready. We will do this right. But let's take the process the way we are used to following it for municipal facilities.
Kevin, exactly right. The one other thing I would say, because I heard this as a concern that came in, when we authorize a borrow for a project, if by any chance the project comes in lower, which is actually what we hope for, we cannot utilize that money. Let's just say we went for 62 and it comes in at 58. That remaining money has to go back to a town meeting to be revoted and rescinded. We don't get to spend it on anything other than the project we put it forward for. So there's no risk here of borrowing too much and then having it fall to free cash or something. It literally will just go away. We will revote it back, and that has to go to town meeting. So I know people are very nervous about the process, but I think it's important to focus on that at this moment in time. There'll be many more months and discussions at the committee about all the details and logistics of the building, many more months of that, 2 years of it, right? So.
And Mark, you know, during your committee deliberation, there was a question at the end about, okay, so May's coming, we've got to do outreach. We met the very next morning, and Amanda, you're there. I mean, we've got work already underway on an outreach education plan. There's so much material's already been built. There's a foundation already on the website. There's more to do. I know a few people in the audience are ready to pitch in too, but we'll do this.
I was watching the meeting the other night, and it was glad that I was not in the meeting, because I had a lot of thoughts. But one of the most important things I wanted to point out is the incredible work that Amanda has already done about outreach, about fire rescue. We put a communications team together this time last year after May, basically, when and we've met regularly since then. The other key point that I want to remind people is we've had our amazing fire chief make 4 or 5 presentations at town meeting about what the project is and what the need is. And the last one he made for the $4 million to do design passed unanimously with 0 questions. So I feel like we're ready to go. I know the board feels like we're ready to go. Like, we want to move the question on this so we can, at a minimum, get direction from the community. We understand it's a possibility the community might say that's too much, but the only way we get that answer is by taking a vote, we hope. So we're going to bring forward the building that we believe that we need, our solidest recommendation for the best services here. We will do our best to communicate all the pros of why we need it. And if the community says, you know what, no, go back, I'd rather know that in May rather than finding out in November. So there really is no downside to moving the question in May. So I just really want people, we've heard a lot of chatter this week about people being afraid, like, there's a lot of reasons to move it, right? And it's not at the sake of the project, right? We need that vote, so.
As our committee member update, Mark, would you like to add? We kind of been learning quickly and getting up to speed. You've been living it, so turn it over to you.
I guess the only thing I'd say tonight is that as we go through these discussions, and you know, we had a similar kind of pattern of discussion when we were looking at the campus plan originally, a year or so ago, 2 years ago. And at this point in time, I mean, people can't get hung up on things that are non-existent. You know, we had some discussion about turnaround areas for the school bus at the elementary school, or an area where the bus could pull off to the side and the driver can do the safety check that needs to get done before they leave the elementary school and go pick up middle school kids. And it's like, why are we talking about that now? We understand that those are things that might be relevant and germane, obviously, when we get to the point where we're doing a final design of the entryway and how whatever we may or may not need for the back entrance into the new fire station works with the existing elementary school thing. And none of that really is something that we can focus on right now, because we don't know all the particulars right now. But certainly, you know, there's a guarantee. The guarantee was made. We had school committee members at the meeting on Monday. You know, we have one on the panel, that those are the things that will be addressed at the appropriate time, and that the school committee, the elementary school committee, will have full opportunity to orchestrate what they need for a design of their driveway, whether it changes or doesn't change. So, you know, we can't be focused on those kinds of things right now. We need to be focused on the major elements of, this is the piece of property that we have. We can't design something for a piece of property we don't own. We had that discussion already about the middle school property. It goes the same for the other adjacent property. We don't own it, we can't design something for it, we're gonna continue to negotiate. Maybe we will own it at some point, maybe we won't. This is what we got, this is what we need to get started on the fire station, and that's what we're gonna do.
Thanks for your contribution. It was a really good meeting to see
Yes.
the thought that went into 2-story versus 3, the balance of pros and cons. I thought it was a really good meeting, and everybody's working well together. Andrew, you had comments?
Just an observation, our job here is the financial health of the town, and a delay will also cost us in construction costs. It'll cost our fire and emergency rescue members, their team, health issues as well. So the longer we delay, we pay for it in how we care for our people and how we care for ourselves financially in terms of that investment and the size of the investment. So I agree that we need to test the waters with the work we've done.
I just want to add one thing, because I feel like this meeting has taken a turn. It started out so positively, and then it sort of went negative. I just want to remind everybody about what we are about to achieve here. Like, this is incredible. We have all been working together for almost 3 years now towards a common goal, and we have a site, and we have an architect, and we have a committee, and we're so close. Like, and we have the right staff in place. I mean, the chief and all the new recruits, like, the momentum is great, and this community just saw perfect demonstration this last week of what an incredible, selfless job these guys do. So we get that the price tag is scary. It's scary for us, but we want to bring what the price is forward, and then hopefully you remember what you're getting for that, which is, honestly, I think it's, like, stay positive. Like, this is positive. Like, so many great things happen here. This is going to be one of them. So.
Okay.
So that's the
That's
fire
Article
rescue
12.
station article. There'll be
If I
more
could,
discussion on that.
Yes, please, Michael, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Kim with property. Well, you know, we don't own property. We've had those discussions, as Mark said. And you guys are still working on that, which is, I think, fantastic. I didn't mention before, I do think we owe it to the middle school to reach out and let them know, kind of, the last time we had a meeting with them, we said we would get back, I believe, of what we might be requesting from them in regards to property. So I think we should talk about it as a group and decide if we are, what we are asking for, and get some guidance before it's not too late, but while we're in the process.
Yeah, if I could just.
Go ahead, please.
So,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that we were looking at is the layout of the two-story versus the three-story. And the three-story was actually a basement, not going up higher, but going down to take advantage of the dip in the ground that's already there, and having the non-essential vehicles in that back area in the lower garage that would then exit and come out along the access road that's there for the fire station now. And that design may have required perhaps an extension of the width of that driveway, and we might have needed to negotiate potentially with the regional school district over an easement that was a little larger than what we have now. But going with the two-story design, it negates that, so I'm not sure that we need to negotiate with the regional school district over anything.
But I do think, you know, Michael, to your point, when we did give them an update, I mean, they indicated exact words were, we have no plans for our property. And Kim, you were there, so was the superintendent. But we did leave that, I'm looking at Mike Salitra, who was with us. We did agree, as our plans developed and moved forward, to meet with them again. So, great idea, and we should. They're a partner. They're a neighbor.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be a couple of years down the road
I
and
know.
realize we could have really used a little sliver, maybe a little bit more, and we didn't ask at the time.
Yep, so noted.
And then the other one is, you know, it's really exciting to hear about the decision on the two-story and the progress. And it's great that, Mark, you're giving us these updates in the meeting. But I know when we put together the charge, we were kind of specific that we wanted to get them in to see us once a month. And that, you know, a lot of these decisions, be it the biggest, you know, capital project we're doing, that the select board was going to be involved in understanding and helping make final decisions. We haven't seen any materials yet.
There haven't been any.
What?
There really haven't been any. I mean, we've been in such a
Okay,
preliminary stage of things that we just got the material Monday afternoon from the architects, or a little earlier than that, I should say. But that was the first iteration that we had, and just, you know, again, conceptually, so that we could make a decision on whether it should be two-story or three-story. And so now that we've done that, I think as we go into the future now, we're meeting again 24th of March, I think it is, And at that point, I mean, we will have something of substance that we can bring to the select board to,
Outreach and, yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, good point.
That's
Michael.
all I'm asking. It would be hugely helpful to me to kind of see the progress. If it comes down to being in April, by the time I see stuff, it's definitely harder. So, we're excited to see it and excited to support it. So the sooner we can see stuff, and I do appreciate all of the other committee members that have come and spoken up. But I definitely love to see the group come in and meet with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Can I just add?
Please.
For anyone else who might also be interested, because I just finished watching the January 12th meeting today, there are presentations of, the meetings are fully recorded with full presentations about what they're presenting, available online. If you go to where, you know, all of our videos are, you can watch both meetings. And they're lengthy, but you can see presentations of the ideas in the January meeting about what a 3-story building versus 2-story would be, and then you can see them representing more defined 2- and 3-story, and then the board making a decision on Monday. So they are there if you want to see some detail for people who might want to get, you know, a little more information right now.
Yeah, again, the Monday, March 2nd meeting, was it? I mean, really was great, because not only did they decide the 2 versus 3-story, but through the questions asked by committee members, the schedule was reminded to folks in terms of how this vote at town meeting then feeds into detailed design, that feeds into construction documents, bidding, and construction. So everything was laid out, and again, it just, you really have an incredible team, both in terms of our owner's project manager, the architect engineering team, as well as the committee is really contributing a lot to it. So, all right, so that's Article 12, new fire rescue station. Mark, bills of prior year.
13, we do have some bills of prior year to handle and still collecting the list on that. But as of right now, you've got about 13,441 in bills of prior year to manage, so we'll have that. Article 14 is our operating budget. Article 15.
Can I do a quick
Yes.
pause on the operating, only because I know, I saw Darren, Darren's there. Darren, in the past, and I know we've got our first published budget, as we make, or as adjustments are made, there used to be a spreadsheet, so we could see the pluses and minuses as we're going through. Can we still see that? So we know, like, health insurance went down, we've got more.
Their budget is still the same budget that was presented the last time.
We do know, for example, health insurance has gone down. So we should see that.
Right.
Are you
But-
saying
Next week, right, well, the 18th.
the variance?
the 18th.
The variance of this year to what it's going
Changes.
to?
No, what he,
Changes in this
There's a
budget.
snapshot of our,
I'll tell you, they're spoiled now.
That one
I
cover
love
sheet,
it.
the
I
cover
love it.
sheet.
Listen, what they really want is, they're used to having, now since we have all the spreadsheets, they're used to getting, here's where we were, this was last time, and then being shown basically once a week, because it was me and I was here, right, where we are, what's changed a little bit since then. Before me, Kathy used to do a smaller list, which was like $1,000 here and 500 there. We kind of moved away from that. So next week, when we do the budget presentation, or the 18th when we do it, what they will want is I always do a list of drivers, basically the big changes from the last time. That's what they want. So maybe we can get that out sooner, so they'll have 2 weeks to look at it. And then with a summarized list, like these great memos that you put together, I think that would do it. Right.
yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, where this comes from too is, you know, we have requests for an additional item, whether it be a assistant director at COA, you know, if we see some opening, that gives us a little more comfort as opposed to an override, which
Yeah,
people
well,
don't
We're going
like.
to talk about that too.
Understood, but
Yes.
I'm
We
just,
can talk about it now if you want.
let's not.
Okay.
Well, we do have the chair waiting to speak of this board, so whenever we get to it, I'm sure,
Which board?
of the COA.
Is the chair here?
Yeah. Denise Dunlap.
Denise, oh, I'm sorry, Denise, hi. All right,
wanna
let's, yeah.
Well,
It doesn't have to be out of order with the articles. That's,
well, we need to talk
the
about the
budget.
petitions, because there's more information than just that. So,
But it relates to the budget, right?
it's a petition, too.
sure. Okay, let's,
Want to hit it?
yeah, let's do it. So,
Denise, come-
yeah. So you
on.
may recall when we talked about this position this year, so we sent out to the departments that we weren't including any positions this year. And so we talked about potentially adding a couple of positions. The one that we had considered adding in the budget was the revenue neutral one, which was the inspections for short-term rentals. And I had recommended at that time, because we were trying to avoid an operational override this year, because we just did one last year, that we would fund this assistant COA position in the fall. And then Darren had also suggested, or we could fund it half a year with free cash. And then I said, I don't love that. And you said, Kevin, hey, that's a great idea. So what's before you now is the same question that we have to decide, which is the petition wants the position funded. We want the position funded. The question was about timing. I don't see any direct value in whether it's funded July 1 or November 11th, right? I don't really see, but I certainly think if you wanted to put it forward, there is no room in the budget. So if the board wants, and I would recommend probably, I sort of did today at their meeting, that if the board supported putting an override on for the position, that might help everybody solve all the problems. I just didn't know where, if we don't have the room to cut it plus benefits, that's all. And I should also add, since we're not getting to the petitions, the petition is probably out of order anyway, based on Karis' initial feedback, so it's not really valid. But we have the opportunity right here to help solve a problem and not worry about the other technical issues.
Mr. Chair, can I
Please.
add? So part of the concern is that everybody's in agreement that because of the long-term strategic value of how we want to run departments, but also because of the need to address services and staffing within the growing demands of the COA. There's no question that we want the position. The value of bringing it on for the spring town meeting is to address and serve the public who uses the facility and the services perception, real perception, that this has been delayed long enough and that we need to respond to that delay and figure out. And so now back to Darren, the request to Darren to let us know where those margins of possibilities exist. And this select board has worked miracles before when those margins appear. And so I think the question is the value of the public process for us to be a responsive government, and when, even though administratively there may be a cost to how it's done, the fact that the public wants it done is also something we have to listen to.
I just need to be clear, we do not have room in the budget. We have not, there is no space there, and we have not received the final numbers from the schools, and that is a big variable too. And so, I just think the easiest, cleanest path is the override path, and then no one has to worry about cuts or whatever, which was the intent of Susan, actually. She didn't want to disrupt the operating budget. And if the other part, sorry, Kevin, but the other part is it's a little bit complicated because it's a ballot question, override question. So we'd much rather know sooner if we're doing this or not, so we can prepare the language, and then we can officially do an article. But that direction comes from you guys.
So Denise, thanks for standing there all this time.
Yeah.
One question I know I have, and the board also might have, so you don't need to give all the background. Susan, if you heard, did an excellent job. And I think where Kim's going, what would benefit us is, does the timing help by having this ready to go July 1? Or
It does. I think there are some things that can begin to be put in place, right? That if it's delayed, and then the process of, as Kim pointed out today, we all know that, Judy's credentials and knowing that this is part of a succession planning, right? So getting the right person in there as the assistant is going to be a long period of time. And if we can get the process underway, it's not going to happen overnight, but to get going with it is going to make, I think, a difference in when we ultimately have the right person on board.
Well, thanks for your advocacy and the petition. I'm glad it came in, and, it's got us having to do our job, which is figure out how we'll do it, as Andrea said.
Which we had already
will. We will.
discussed at the last two meetings, so.
But
we
I
do.
think for the board, where this is likely to go is, need is there, July 1, likely override,
Do you want to do it?
right?
Or do you want to wait till the fall? I mean,
Voters speak in this town, voters not shy. I'm fine with an override, and if the press wants to pick that up, because we get all kinds of Facebook chatter, too many overrides, but before you yell at us and comment, think about what the purpose is, what the need is, you know? And then once the override's done, it rolls in to the budget in the future, and we've got a little more headroom. And that's what we don't have right now. We have no headroom in this budget, folks.
that's what the excess levy is. It's the money that we make off of new growth
Right.
essentially that needs to be certified in the fall. So, you know, we've added when we added to recreation for positions, we added it at that time with the excess levy because we don't plan for it, right? Because we budget conservatively. But it's guaranteed when it comes in with growth that we know we're gonna get it again. It's not a risk, right? Override is the same.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Denise, just, I think if I understand this right, what you're saying is it's really not possible to go out into the search process and actually look for people and maybe have conversations with them without a town meeting vote authorizing the position.
I think just the full process, right? That, you know, Mark and Judy have begun the process of job description and that sort of thing, but to really engage the process
But
fully.
that's all administrative. I mean,
Exactly.
and that stuff, I think, could happen regardless.
And that has and will, but yeah, to more formally get this underway and do it right and be able to search for the right person is gonna take time.
You need an approved position in the town.
Yeah, you can't hire without
You can't
that.
do
Go
that
out,
without an approval.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of preparatory work
Which we have done.
up to actually doing interviews, right? I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't really launch a search until it's approved.
Yeah, I mean, picture an offer subject to town meeting vote in the fall? Don't think so.
No.
All right,
Thank you.
are we good?
Well,
All
you have
right.
to decide what you want to do.
Well,
Do we right
I
now?
can't not.
do we want to do it
I
now?
mean, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just throw my 2 cents in, and I think that, you know, I'm not afraid to do an override for this, and if it's the extra 4 months, it's gonna help the COA. I think we all agree it's something we eventually need. I'm up for just biting the bullet now and moving
Okay.
it forward.
Okay,
It's been requested for two annual cycles.
so.
Yeah, it was, when Andrea took over, but when I was there, and this has been in the works for a long time. And we
Yeah.
do need, it's such a critical service, I think we all know very well for the town, to make sure a succession plan, as we've done with all of our key departments, is set up there as well.
Okay.
And this would do that.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I'm a little confused. If we have updated information as we proceed, like, you know, as we hear the budget, do we then have to proceed with the override?
We will not have room. We are barely making it this year as it is without an override.
That
We are-
insurance cost in,
But you heard Kim say schools.
I see.
We don't have the room. And I mean, and quite honestly, you know I would avoid an override at all cost if I could. I've been trying to, right? I just don't think it's fair, because we did have other position requests too, right? Like, this one is next in the queue. It's getting funded one way or another. So it's either getting funded and I think it'll pass. I think people support it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. The question was only about trying to avoid another override. And if that's not that big of a deal, but that is your call. Like, my recommendation is always on the conservative side, which is wait until the revenue's available in the fall, so.
So just kind of this is the knucklehead in me with regulatory
Yeah.
stuff. So a petition has been submitted.
Yes,
I saw it has been certified by the town clerk.
yep.
If we did agree to put this position in the budget, subject to the override passing, does the petition still have to run its course? I don't want to make this messy.
It's messy anyway.
Petitioner can
Withdraw.
Yeah.
But the other part is, you know, we've talked about this before, and we have to make sure we're clear on process. Council had the opportunity in the last 2 days to do a preliminary review of the language submitted by both of the articles and does think that they are both out of order and would not be valid on the floor. We're going to invite her to an upcoming meeting so
Okay.
we can talk about that more in detail. She's only had 48 hours to look at it. But that's kind of the point, which is it's part of the reason why I crashed the meeting today. I don't want someone to lose the opportunity to have an article over a technicality. That helps no one.
No, and
And
I
so,
think-
and she doesn't need to go through all this, right? We can do it. If you guys will bless it, then we're good there. Her mission goes. Then we'll deal with the next one.
And she will have been heard.
So I think just to actually get some things concrete,
Yes.
would someone make a motion that we support this?
I move that we support the assistant director position to be funded at Springtown meeting through an override process.
Thank you.
Moved
Second.
and second by Meph. Any further discussion on this? All right, by roll call vote, Michael?
I'm Michael Herman.
Aye, Andrea Reed.
Aye, Kevin Galligan.
Hi, Mark Matheson.
I'm F. Runyon.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
you for the
Your
work.
direction.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
We now have direction on that. We are bouncing around, but we still are sticking generally to the
Yes.
outline.
This is how it gets done, people.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean-
good.
I don't see a lot of happy faces out there. Folks, we're making progress. We really are, Ed.
He's happy. He's just hungry.
Yeah.
The next,
Pizza in my office.
you got
You're hungry.
Article,
Bonnie, it's
where am I?
fools.
Hold on. Article 15, Beaches Enterprise Fund Budget. Article 16, Sewer Enterprise. Article 17, Transfer Station Enterprise Budget. Article 18 is Adopt Capital Improvement Plan
And that'll be coming up in 2 minutes.
momentarily. What? Article 19 is to fund the FY '27 capital budget, which will also be discussed momentarily. Article 20 is to fund the Community Preservation Program budget, which was reviewed at the last meeting. Article 21, funding the Conservation Fund. There were questions at your last meeting about this, and John Janelle is here to answer any questions you have
Okay, Michael,
About
this is,
conservation.
about conservation, yes.
we had John Janelle here just for you. Michael, take it away.
I'm sorry, what?
Conservation.
This is the Conservation Fund, the memo from
Yeah,
John
right.
Janelle.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that. What would you like me to discuss?
You had questions for John as to.
No, I had questions for the board of why we can't maintain our properties, why it always has to be an article every year.
So again,
We know we need to maintain our conservation properties. We don't seem to fund it. We fund our parks more than we fund all of our conservation properties. So that's why I'm, putting an article in doesn't seem like the most fiscally prudent way to do that. I mean, I definitely for special projects feel we should with the conservation, but why we're not taking care of our stuff and our property on an annual basis doesn't make sense to me. So that's the question, and I don't know if that's to John or us as a board.
Okay,
But John, if you can shed some light on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I can do that quickly. I know you're busy, but it's good to hear, and there's a lot of people that can hear it too. But we do fund annual maintenance on conservation properties. As the memo says, we have 280 acres of publicly owned open space, 16 accessible trailheads that people use and enjoy on a regular basis. And it was in FY '22. After requesting, I heard earlier, 2 times previously and getting turned down, that the board and the town funded a line item in the department budget for land management. In FY '22, you funded that and the department at $15,000. We've grown that up to, I think my request that was in your earlier article for the budget is $17,000. Our annual maintenance, when we came to you in FY '22, we weren't really sure what the perfect number was. So we started with the $15,000. We've turned back less than $76 every year. That fund balance today, Michael, is at, I think, $500. So I'm not going to make it to July, which is where the conservation fund comes into play. It's a revolving fund, and it's a great place to park available resources, if they're available funds, I should say, for the Conservation Commission and the department to utilize. And we utilize it every year, partially as a backstop when we fall short, like we are right now, but also to do special projects. So we do lean heavily on that account to do special projects. And you've heard me talk a number of those over the years. I'm not here annually on behalf of the commission requesting funding in that fund. I came in 2022. The town meeting put $75,000 in that fund then. And we came back in 2024, and the town meeting put $85,000 in that fund then. And we're back here 2026, seeking to put $125,000 in that fund. But not only does it serve as a backstop when we run short in the department, it also does stuff like the hydro raking we did at the Pilgrim Lake Swimming Beach, beach nourishment at Pilgrim Lake and Crystal Lake. Just going to rattle some off. I made some notes. Restoration of 2 inland wetlands at Putnam Farm. This year, a lot was done at Kent's Point. We did the environmental analysis. We're back to you in a couple of weeks with some talk on that. And we replaced 2 out of the 3 dug-in staircases there, a lot of timber and earthwork. And that fund supports work like that. And we have 5 years of data, and I can probably talk to you when you have more time about sweet spots and numbers. I think you heard me just say that even the 17 I'm requesting in the next fiscal year is likely to fall a little short. But the fund is a real great tool, because if there's available funds and you can park some there with the town meeting approval, then we can fall back on it if needed. Versus, I think, the question I watched your earlier meeting about putting it all into the department line item. Right. It wouldn't revolve, and a lot of our projects are in sensitive resource areas, take design and permitting, and span fiscal years. Right. So kind of put the department in a position to be turning back a lot of funds year to year. So we went over this a couple of years ago. The 2 performed very well. We got like a great 5-year track record to look at if you really want to get into numbers. But that's just my 2 cents.
Great, thanks, John. Michael, is that helpful?
It's helpful. I mean, I still feel it would be a better way to definitely for managing the properties to keep it in the budget and increase the budget where we need next year, so that we're not constantly falling short if we have a 5-year track record. I'm always hesitant to fund these things year over year. Ask the taxpayers to increase, and pay taxes that we're just carrying over. So why we're increasing this, I'm not quite sure. But I know John's work, and if you have the projects that add up to this, then that's great. So that's all I have for now.
Okay. Any further questions on this from the board?
I would just make a point. I would agree with it would be, in a perfect world, something that we didn't have to take an article to town meeting every year. I think that would be a plus. But I don't believe these revolving funds can be funded
any other way.
Any other way. Is that
Correct. So you're taking one-time money from free cash or another source, and then you're basically creating it into a reserve that they can use that's multi-year. Otherwise, it will fall, they're one-time projects. They're not exactly the same project. It's similar work, but they are project-based, so they're capital project-based.
But we're using the money to backstop maintenance, which isn't separate. It's the same work year to year.
I tried to say this politely. Yeah, I think the maintenance is a little underfunded. You can look at the 5 years of data, and this. I requested, I think, 17 the budget that went forward this year. I feel like the sweet spot. I mean, you have a 2-person conservation department and a fabulous DPW that accomplishes your labor, and a wonderful volunteer commission. I shouldn't leave them out. But the sweet spot for the annual maintenance number, in my opinion, Michael, is in the 20 to 25. And I think in a perfect, I'm not a budget person, but you want to be, perfect budget turns back 0, right? So, and so somewhere in there is, because here we are in March with $500 left. You want to make it to July and turn back 0 and accomplish all the tasks that you set out to do that calendar year.
I think it's important too, I'm sorry I missed some of the conversation, but we highly, especially me, encouraged them to increase the number, to take on more projects. Because remember, a couple years ago, we were talking about controlled burns or something, risk of burns, you know, at sites, and then relying on the DPW when they had time available in order to be able to, I mean, sort of, they're doing it as an offset, like, they're great, but it was an offset. These guys did not have dedicated project funding to tackle some of the projects that pop up that maybe, you know, you can't schedule. And so, you know, that's the tricky part. Do you ask them to take it out of their annual budget when a problem hits, or do they have a reserve available to help tackle something? Or do you ask Rich to cover it in his budget, right? It's that piece. So, you know, I feel guilty because I made you increase this. I'm actually happy to see you guys
that's
ask
okay.
for more. But we talk a bunch about maintaining and, you know, our facilities, but like that project work related to what they need to do is a lot. We have a lot of backup work, especially this next year. I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like
Yeah, John, I mean,
once this all clears out and we see what's left.
To Michael's point, I don't want to come every year either, but
Right.
I think you want to see me more than every
We
6
do.
years, because it's a great way to check in and measure us on our progress.
Yep.
We've been every 2 years with that request to go to the meeting for the funding.
right.
And the sweet spot in there, if you look at the appropriations, in 22, 75,000, 24, 85,000, asking for 125, you're starting to get, after
balance.
5 years of really trying to budget for land management and maintenance on these properties, you're starting to understand, you know, it's like 20, 25 over here, 80, 100 over here.
Right.
Gets you a lot done.
And I'm just seeing the Chair of Conservation Commission on by Zoom. Jersey, did you want to add to the discussion if you were listening in? You're more than welcome.
Yeah, thanks. This is Drissy, Drissy Henson, Chair of Conservation Commission, for everyone listening. I just want to reiterate that a lot of these special projects are reacting to community input that we get from members of the town who are requesting things done on the various properties. So it's not all just coming from us. We're trying to respond to the desires of the town on our various properties. For example, the Pilgrim Lake, people were upset about the swimming area there, and so we responded. But it's not something we can anticipate with a standard maintenance budget,
There
to
you
John's
go.
point.
There
So
you go.
we need to be able to respond to the town needs, and also respond when we have a grant opportunity to do a project. We need to be able to respond quickly with any sort of matching funds that are required. So this is really, Michael, sort of the difference between the maintenance budget. And I agree, we shouldn't have to use the revolving fund to cover maintenance that couldn't get done under our standard budget. John does a great job with that in DPW. We do the best we can. Sometimes we end up with a little bit of a shortfall, and it's good to have that as a backup, but that is not the intent of it at all. It's really for those other one-off projects that we can't necessarily anticipate.
Great. Good discussion.
And I think that, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Please.
I think it's important that a portion of it does come back to us annually, and the public gets to see these projects. And I understand there are concerns of people, they want this, they want that, but like most of the town projects, special projects, we bring them to town meeting for the whole town to look at and fund. So just to also make aware of all the great work you guys are doing. So I'd like to see it more often, is what I'm trying to say, John. So thank you.
Sounds good.
John, you're welcome at any time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
From the discussion tonight, I think it would be appropriate for looking a year down the line, John. Don't be afraid to come in and say, hey, you know,
Yeah.
it was 15, we needed a little more, it was 17, we need a little more, 20, 25, whatever, be as realistic as possible. Because I think you're hearing tonight that this board and the townspeople are more than willing to give you what you need to take care of our stuff in the conservation realm out there. And if it's 20,000 or 25,000, every year, you know you're gonna need this to maintain some of the stuff we have. Go that way. And then this, for the special projects, the revolving fund capacity here to go multi-years is what we also need to maintain and that can, I assume, go up or down, but it's, you know, I think you have the backing of this board and in the town to be realistic in the number you asked for, in the budget and then in the article as well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's becoming easier, at least for the department and the commission, now that we have 5 years of data to look back at our spending and our turnbacks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think we're good. All right, Mark, Article 22.
Article 22. This is to update communications and video conferencing technology for the Emergency Operations Center. Let me pull up that's coming from Fire Chief. Talked about that last time. Article 23, funding water quality testing and monitoring. There's questions that had existed on this article, and George is here to answer those questions.
So again, Michael, George is at the podium. This relates, I think, primarily to the continual annual testing, monitoring, reporting relative to Cedar Pond, the Penn Board controls and things like that. Michael, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe that was your question, correct?
Yes, that was one of them. So I guess, George, as we know, and I see you did a memo, it was a test originally back in when you guys started working on this in 2013, and it's now turned into an annual ask. And we don't really have a strategy, or wasn't before, of what the future, when is this going to end? I mean, we've already spent over $500,000 worth of town funds, and there didn't seem to be any end in sight, and nobody seemed to know what the future was going to be. So I'd love to hear if, I know there's been discussions in the last week. So please, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I think it's a good question. I always appreciate people questioning use of public funds for any purpose. And it's our job to justify them, and your job to decide whether they go forward. So I gave you a rundown, kind of a program summary of what has happened at Cedar Pond since the management plan was initially completed in 2013. There's a whole rigmarole I won't go into of permitting and appeals, and ultimately a superseding order from the DEP. We have fulfilled the requirements of the superseding order, except for, and I put it in your summary sheet, one continuing condition that says if the flashboards are determined to have a positive impact on the resources at large in Cedar Pond, then the town will continue to employ its adaptive management and its fishways operation plan, and this is included as an ongoing condition. So how do we determine if the water quality is improving? We continue to monitor, and the town has continued to pay for monitoring. For the sake of time, I won't give you all the details of the amount of monitoring. The cost has gone up over time. It is now requested $41,000. The good news is the management plan had a phase 2 in there after we had improved the salinity, lowered the salinity of the pond, and it is a huge success story in the DMF's Department of Marine Fisheries, is that anadromous fish have come back up Cedar Pond Creek into the pond, and they are spawning along the freshwater edges there. So good things are happening there. We will continue. I would recommend that we continue the monitoring and we go to the next phase, which is to look at how do we address the bottom sediments, which are causing a continuous deep water quality problems that don't appear to be going away quickly. They're going away incrementally, but we recommend, and there's a request in your list here for $30,000 to explore alternatives to address those sediments that are causing water quality conditions to continue to degrade, even though positive things are happening on the surface of the waters. So, Michael, I hope this is responsive, because this is the way out of the long-term monitoring. We don't do this kind of comprehensive monitoring for Pilgrim Lake or Crystal Lake or Baker's Pond or any of the other great ponds in the town. We're doing it for this one because we've got a management plan and a strategy to improve water quality. We need to make sure we know what we're doing so we can adapt appropriately.
Finish it.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, let me just add, though, Andrea made the
Yeah.
comment, and we'll finish it. So, George, do you see in your lifetime we're going to finish this? And I'm not being facetious.
I do.
You do?
I do. I'm hopeful that there is some way to sequester sediments down there and not to have to dredge them out, or to have to aerate them out slowly certain times of year so that the creek takes them out. I think it took a long time to turn water quality into what it was. And if in 10 years we can improve water quality back to a swimmable, fishable condition, we'll have done a very good job. There's a lot of things working against Cedar Pond, as you know, we don't have to get into now, but the town has done an enormous amount of positives with sewering, cormorant removal, stormwater improvements. We've tried to address the whole watershed, so dealing with the sediments at the bottom appears to be the last big piece that is going to be an obstruction if we don't address it. I'm not saying we're going to address it, I'm saying it's time to look at alternatives.
And again, Michael, I'll go back to you, but I just, go back to how this problem got created. The state built a railroad bed, and then they built Route 6. And there was no Wetlands Protection Act. They could give, I won't use the negative term, but they really didn't consider the environment when
Not
they
them.
put that road in.
Right.
And here we are, the town of Orleans, dealing with this. There's been no state money contributed to this, has there?
They've improved the stormwater on Route 6A, on Route 6,
Right.
yes.
Right.
What about the
So-
wires? the line-
And again, just the-
Cormorant smooth?
That was Eversource, and we paid for that in our bills. But I'll also say, the concern I also have is, and it's always unstated because we just asked DPW to do this, we asked town management to do this. The Penn Board and Weir control is done by town staff. No one recognizes that cost that goes into
Right.
this.
Right.
So, we all just say, this is all good, but there is infinitely more behind the scenes to actually control this management plan. And I hope people take that into account. Mike, you were going to add?
Yeah, I mean, I still would love to see, George, I don't know, a 5-year projection of what this is going to cost the town and what we honestly think that it's going to improve the water quality. I just think going into hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars we're going to continue to spend on this with no end in sight is troubling for me. I think it's been an amazing job. It's been 12 years. Again, I won't reiterate, well, I will quickly, the stormwater management, the cormorants, the sewering, all the things we've done, to improve have been done. Now we got to see what happens, but going on just down a path of testing and looking at things for the cost is something is troubling. So
I think that's why your Water Quality Committee, their review of the data and the reports that have come out annually, they recommend that we go to the next step to try to deal with the sediments. And, I think it's a legitimate perspective to say, let's wait a couple more years. You could do that. But I would recommend, as a staff person, not to stop monitoring the pond.
Right, and in fact, as George mentioned, Michael, in our list is this new item, which is the Phase 2, 30,000, that would actually be the basis for getting that ability to come to a closure on this.
Right.
With the sediment
But
evaluation.
it's a $30,000 then to come up with a few $100,000 to
Yes.
dredge the sediments?
It could-
Or,
We don't know.
It could be any number of things. I mean,
Well,
it could be a
They're
no.
going to tell us, I do believe they're going to tell us it would be, we could dredge the sediments, and it's. Well, we do kind of know. That's the next step. So I'm fine with the monitoring for this next year, but I really don't. I would say maybe we hold off on the 30,000 and we come up with really a 5-year plan of what the costs are going to be to continue this process. Otherwise, I'm just afraid I'm going to be sitting here 3 years from now and we're still going to be spending this kind of money every year. So
Okay.
that's my 2 cents.
Just to close it out, it would be difficult to give you a real accurate 5-year cost estimate without talking to enabling us to meet with people who actually do this in the field and can advise us.
Okay. So I know water quality management folks are here. Anything you might want to add? Because I know you took a vote, sent us a memo, just give you a chance to.
And there's one more. Baker's Pond.
Yeah. Carolyn Audi.
Hi, I'm Carolyn, Carolyn Audi, Chair of the Marine and Freshwater Quality Committee. I really appreciate all the work that George has done on all of this, and he came to our meeting yesterday and gave us some great in-depth information for this. And I'd like to just, I'm not going to read all of the letter that I sent to you and because of time, but I just want to reiterate that we think that in order to move forward, we just need this funding so that we can determine how to move forward and how to possibly stop this continuous monitoring. And I appreciate all the work that has been done. We've had, so much of this work is done by volunteers to the town. So a lot of this work is work that is done for free and at no more cost to the town. Any questions, any that I can answer?
Any questions of the board?
Not me.
Okay. Thanks, Carolyn. Appreciate the work of the committee. Okay, we are way past the joint public hearing that we're supposed to begin at 6:45 on the capital improvement plan. Mark, what do you think?
Do you want to come back to this?
I think we should.
'Cause there's a lot more discussion.
Yeah, because again, we got Finance Committee. It would be nice if they convened. And I see Darren coming up, so you're going to lead the charge? Sure. All right, so folks, we're going to pause on the annual town meeting warrant article, come back to it. I will open very late, it's 7:09, the joint public hearing with the Finance Committee on our fiscal year 2028 to fiscal year 2032 CIP, that's capital improvement plan, and our fiscal year 27 capital budget. So Elaine shaking her head no.
No, the budget's on the 18th.
You have it on there. Capital budget, CIP.
Yeah.
Capital improvement plan.
That's it.
It says capital budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I read.
it's these two.
So would the Finance
Okay, there we
Committee
go.
like to
Well,
convene?
it's good.
No, we're
As a reminder, there is pizza on my table, pepperoni and cheese. It's from Three Fools. Go have a piece. That's what I just told them too.
Yeah, we gotta get this.
I know, but honestly,
Angry.
it's gonna be a couple hours.
Now, if this is going to be your meeting, because I can't handle more of this. Really can't.
You need the pizza. Put you into the, if it was a brownie here. I'm gonna DoorDash a chocolate cake.
Do a DoorDash.
I'm in
I
here.
brought chocolate, I know.
We'll have some next
thank you.
week. We got all St. Patrick's Day sweets and stuff, so it'll be good. Hershey Kisses.
Elaine, Madam Chair?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to call to order the March 4th meeting of the Finance Committee, joint meeting with the Select Board. And I believe Nick Athanasio was online, was on Zoom. Oh, there he is, okay.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
And John.
I'm ready to go.
So Elaine, just for our minutes,
You hadn't noticed.
could we get the names of all of your
Sure.
committee members?
Want to identify ourselves coming around?
Alice Thomason.
Dick Burdick.
Elaine Baird.
Tony Pearl. David Abel.
And we have Chris Knager in the back.
Is he,
Chris is a member of the committee.
he is a member?
Yes.
Should be up.
Mr. Kananga, would you like to be recognized, please?
Me?
Yep.
You get a couple online.
Yeah, for the record.
Got everybody.
I don't know.
You here?
Yes, I'm here. Chris
Great.
Knager.
Mr. Athanasiou, recognized,
Here.
And
Mr. Cooper.
thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to have
Yeah.
names on the record for the meeting. So Darren, you put together a presentation.
I did. Thank you. Darren Tansman, Finance Director. Tonight I want to do a couple of housekeeping issues just up front. Everyone should have an updated version of the capital improvement plan and budget. There is a couple changes. I just want to say the very first page, thanks to Lynn for bringing this up. I did find it in a error search on it, but for some reason we didn't change it. But there is the pavement management plan number was incorrect in the capital budget, but we will show it correctly in this meeting. It is correct in the actual CIP. So, and that number is 434,478 in there now. So that's correct. The number you see up on the screen is correct. Other things I want to talk about in terms of the memo that was sent out. There was an update to free cash. I think it's important that you understand that kind of were the working numbers that we're working from in order to fund free cash and levy as well. We did have a reduction after discussing and working with DOR on the updated free cash recertification, which will be finalized by the 31st of March. The new number is $4,265,000 now. In this budget between vehicles and equipment and building and facilities, we use approximately $775,700, which leaves about $2,489,300 in free cash, and then we have that. You can see the other limit that's in there right now, the recommended reserve level. In the memo, you also see just essentially the mix between how much money we're funding with levy and how much we're funding with free cash in the memo as well. I do want to touch on the point that was brought up earlier, in that the fire rescue station capital construction estimate was recently updated, and we did include it in this document as well. At the amount of it's $47.7 million in terms of hard costs, and then a 1.25 or 25% escalator for soft costs, for a total of $59,625,000 there, 59.625. I mean, and let's see what else. What you will also see is a deliberate effort to move in the capital budgets, which we have up there right now. You'll see the May ATM and fall STM columns that have different items in there. And I would just want to, all these were originally in the May ATM, and we moved them to the fall STM for a couple of reasons. But in terms of CPR chest compression machines, those were moved to these have all been discussed with the department heads, and so they're aware of these changes, and they agree that a fall appropriation for these would work within their funding timeline. And then you also have the tasers, which were a new item that was added, so we wanted to ensure we were abiding by the charter and not putting it directly into the most recent budget, so it'll fall into the fall STM as well. And then we also had in there body-worn cameras. That was a discussion with the PD2 as well, and that's a discussion about whether or not they can receive grant funding prior to making a request for local funds. So we're trying to get those funds first beforehand, so that's why it's in fall special town meeting. Go further down, you have the COA movable wall replacement. It's in fall special town meeting as well, and that one's there because that's a new requirement that was just added, but it's needed in order to keep the COA running, be able to do the wall separation. So, oops, what happened there? I don't know what just happened. Okay, but that's so we have that at 60,000, and then the town hall painting. We did move that because we wanted to refine that number and make sure that it's completely accurate in terms of estimates, and so that'll give us the time to get that to the right number. If it.
I just want to add, since
Go
we're
ahead.
on that one, because we're worried about wood damage.
Yeah.
So we really want to get a person out here to take a look at the condition, so, and get the right price. Rich can tell you that more, but that's the idea. It's not just paint,
we'll
it
get
is
to it.
literally paint and replace and repair, and, when the snow melts, let's see what's left, right? So,
Yeah, so that's the one that's on there for, it's been moved to special town meeting. You can ask more questions about it in a few minutes if you have more questions. And then the last one on here is, we did a split for 44 Main Street. Michael, you may have questions about this, but with 50,000 in this annual town meeting for a consultant to assist with us through the process, and then another $450,000, I believe, for design. Is that
Yeah,
would
we
be?
think it's about 10% of what the total project might be at the end, about 5 million. So, you know, Elizabeth will know more, and it'll certainly, now that the bylaw's passed, right, and the zoning's changed, we'll have more direction about what we want to do there.
So those are the ones in terms of structure of the budget, how we have it set up right now. We will, when I get to the general CIP, when we get to the capital improvement plan, there's some modifications that are there too in terms of the year of implementation.
And
But
I'll speak to that happily.
So we'll focus on capital budget for right now up front. So this is the coming year. Mr. Chair, if you want me to just go through line by line and if there's any questions, okay. All right. The recreation vehicle purchase for 50,000 from REC is an ongoing request that would be to move equipment. They don't have a truck that they can move equipment back and forth, so that's intended to do that. IT computer equipment services is an annual request that they have for peripheral and computer replacement and repairs that we have. Again, fire department looking at replacing CPR chest compression machines. There's some of these I believe that are over a decade, 2 decades old. So that's the purpose in that. And then you have replacement of vehicle forestry 169. You have replacement vehicle 166 and replace vehicle 170. And a lot of these vehicles either have 5 or 10 years, and it's usually more about more about the amount of the hours that are on these vehicles versus the actual miles themselves. 1 second. But 1 second. Then we have the annual cruiser replacement. We have 2 vehicles. One of the things you see in this is that the systems we combine the system in each vehicle. So it's 2 vehicles and a system of radio terminal and shield systems within those vehicles, because anything less than 25,000 didn't qualify to be a actual capital asset. So we included those in the vehicles because they're going to be integrated in those vehicles anyway. So if it looks a little bit more than in the past, it's because we used to break that out, but those didn't qualify under our current policy for capital assets. And then you have tasers. Again, already talked about that. That's on there. Body-worn cameras. That's already been brought by the chief to the select board in the town already, looking at special town meeting. And then you have replacement 2014 International 4-wheel drive dump truck. We have the sweeper replacement as well, and then a replacement of 2019 Chevy 2500 4-wheel drive pickup. And we have Rich here if you have questions related to those specific vehicles. Anything?
Nope, just
All right.
enjoying the list.
All right, next. Buildings and facilities, we have the COA movable wall replacement. Again, that's in Council on Aging. That was brought this year. There are good cost estimates on that in terms of its replacement. Moving that to special town meeting. The roof replacement's been an ongoing requirement, so that's an accurate replacement as well. We do have an estimate on that for COA. We have what will be an ongoing levy for $203,100 annually. Will probably be an escalator on it as years go on for buildings and facilities repair and maintenance. So that money is within the operational budget, but it's a part of the capital plan. It'll be in order to repair and maintain our capital assets. There's the public landing improvements. There's 50,000 there. Town hall painting, as discussed before. Main Street design and construction. You have the fire and rescue station construction with the new number there as well, and then 44 Main Street broken out between annual town meeting and special town meeting. Any questions related to those?
For the section on the priority vehicles and equipment, and the priority building and facilities, you show funding source being free cash and tax levy many times.
Yeah.
How much will be
funded by tax levy?
You'll see, so below each one of those lines up there right now, which is maybe new to the one that you have right now, I have exactly what those are going to be. So at least what we're recommending.
Is that
Sorry.
on a different page?
No, sorry, it's up here. Wait till it comes back up.
It's right there.
With your computer.
I don't know.
It's
but,
under the line, under the first line.
Yeah. So up there, you'll see that from vehicles and equipment, there's going to be $611,900 from tax levy and $825,700 from free cash for May annual town meeting as a recommendation.
Oh.
Okay, and then below that, you'll see vehicles and equipment, buildings and facilities, $203,100 will be tax levy, $950,000 will be free cash.
Yeah. I
Okay?
got it. I
All
was
right.
looking
All right.
in the wrong spot.
And then you have debt exclusion as well as another category below that.
Right. Thanks, Darren.
No problem. Oops.
Yeah, please.
Sure, David.
Yeah, just had a question, just to understand the buildings and facilities, repairs and maintenance. How does it or does it not, I don't know, interact with what we have a capital plan coming out for the municipal building?
Very good question. I think we do see this being
Darren, could you-
refined.
Sorry, it's me right here.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Kevin.
He's not picked up on microphone. Could you repeat his question?
He's asking how this $203,100 for repair and maintenance for our capital assets will be integrated into our future, or not. It will be. I mean, the intent, I think, is this is kind of a placeholder for right now. As soon as if you look at the memo, we talk about how we're already jumping into Bureau Veritas and into OpenGov to start doing the asset management system, getting that together with aggressive timeline of trying to get it done by the end of the fiscal year. The thought is that they will help dictate more of those repair and maintenance, that process. There'll be probably a new number the next fiscal year that will be more accurate and related to the more like preventive maintenance requirements that help us kind of offset like just trying to plug a hole in the dam. So I think the intent is to be very proactive through that new plan, and so that number will be modified in the coming year. It's there for right now because it's been generally accurate number in terms of what we've been doing in terms of repair and maintenance on all of our facilities, just trying to maintain things at the minimum level.
I think the simplest way to answer that question is, it's really the FY '28 budget. I mean, we're basically status quo in the capital budget until you see the next page about the general, and then we'll talk about the facility study, but we don't have no idea, but we can assume that it's gonna be large and it's really gonna upend our plan, right? And so there's no way to adjust for that right now, so. But we can't wait to get it, because, we love data.
Right, we want the data.
Could I have a follow-up? You can repeat it. So just so I understand it, is this a schedule? Or is this a schedule, or is this like a plug figure, and is it more operating than it is capital?
Do you mean for the facility?
I mean, I'm not against it, I'm just
You mean the
trying to-
facility study? Which specific?
No, this line item.
203?
Oh, that's the stabilization override that was passed years ago for this specific purpose. And every year it's approved, and it used to have can or cannot have an escalator. Last year, so there's one for that, and there's one for vehicles and equipment. Last year or the year before, we talked at length about how neither of those is even close to fitting what we actually need. And we also learned last year for the first time that it only takes a vote of the select board rather than a vote at town meeting. So I think we're really, and then we also had the really ridiculous process of passing into stabilization, having the money, and then having to transfer it out right away to departments. I think, and I won't speak for Darren, but my belief is that the way those stabilization accounts were created and function are not serving our purpose at all. So we'll probably revisit that and the amounts next year too, because it really isn't doing anything besides making sure we raise $200,000 here and $400 there. So anyway, because we need a capital reserve. I mean, so.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions related to that? Okay.
Alice?
Darren, can you just tell me a little bit about the IT computer equipment and services? I only ask because I did not bring my copy of the operating budget that we received a couple of months ago. Maybe that's been changed and updated. But if I'm not mistaken, there was a similar description for about $80,000, and I'm wondering what the difference is.
Question is about the IT capital.
Between the 50 and 80,000, I think they have an 80,000 operational budget for software, which I think is different, right? That's a different number.
Small equipment
Yeah,
replacement.
this is more for, this is small equipment, yeah. So assets,
Anything that
items.
qualifies for capital replacement.
Right, but so
You're
there
look-
there were a couple of lines in the IT budget that related to equipment and services, so I'm just
Most of
wondering-
those were all services and/or rental of equipment, so it's a little bit different.
Software packages.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be the purchase of, servers and.
Before I arrived, so somebody, well, we'll see who gets this one. There's a lot of people been here for a while. There was an article or an override passed, something about IT, data stabilization account, something at that length for multi-year past, yes, I don't know what year it was, but it was,
Yeah.
and a certain amount per year was approved at.
250,000 we
Yes, that's what
transfer
this
over and
is,
over.
right? This
Yeah.
is that, the continuation of that. I'm not sure.
We did $1 million investment, and we scattered it over.
10 years.
Yes.
Dick had a question as well.
Sure.
The elephant in the room is, of course, the fire rescue station. And I have a couple of questions. So one is, has the design been specified sufficiently that that beginning number prior to the addition of the soft cost is meaningful? I mean, the last time I saw or talked to the chief about it, he was talking about an edifice that was in excess of 40,000 square feet. And is that where we are now? And the second question I have with regard to that is that there was a purchase of property that allowed us to reposition this building, at which time it was announced that $13 million was saved by not having to put a temporary structure up for the fire and rescue. Did that come out of these numbers before we threw them up on the board?
So Darren, I can take that. So, yes, and I won't say yes to the last one, but you're correct in remembering the savings. So if you take a chance, because it was an excellent meeting, Dick, watch the Building and Fire Rescue Committee, Building Committee meeting of Monday, March 2nd. They evaluated a 3-story versus a 2-story building option based upon all the requirements and needs of the facility through a programming narrative and service requirements that did design a building relative to meeting the needs. It's not all the look and feel of the building. You don't see those renderings yet, but they are in the process. So it's a 37,000 square foot building approximately. It does include a significant outbuilding for storage that's desperately needed. And the sequence of construction that was described at that meeting allows for the existing fire rescue to stay in service during the course of construction. So in fact, it does save on those mobile trailer-type units that would not be necessary through construction. So it was a great meeting. I think we have comfort that the engineering team, the architect that provided us the soft cost as well as the hard cost numbers is what we're going with.
Well, I'm taken aback by the size of the number, obviously, and also the fact that the building is about 3 times the square footage of the existing building.
So just as a comment, if you take a look at the town of Falmouth's new police station, it is a little bit smaller than the size of this because it's police, not fire, so it doesn't have as much equipment. It is over $65 million, voted and appropriated on town-owned land. So I said it during the comment period of the fire rescue meeting. We all are upset about the cost. But if you look at escalation of costs, and many of you guys follow inflation, look particularly at residential and new construction of commercial facilities. There's a sharp demarcation line over the years, and I'm talking looking 30 years out, 2020, the cost escalation is outrageous, but this is what we are dealing with. So hopefully that answers your question.
Can we get to that
as-
in the CIP? We're not even there yet, just saying.
Ask the question.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to say.
As the Finance Committee liaison to that, Dick, I would say that I was shocked at the number too and expressed that. And it is clear to me, listening to this group that is designing it, they know what they're doing. As for this bigger size, you remember we've got a fire truck that won't fit in the current building, and we need to build for what the town is going to have. And I was a little concerned about not knowing how this all works with the electorate. I was a little concerned about how quickly it was because the number is so big. But I'm very comfortable having listened to the people and given their experience in building other fire stations and municipal buildings, that they are really very good. And he did go through all the steps he went through to get at the estimated number, and he made it clear, don't criticize me if it doesn't come out this way, because it may not. But I felt very comfortable that the two firms, the construction and the design firm, were very good, knew what they were doing, and were speaking from experience. So I felt much more comfortable with the numbers at the end of the meeting than I did with the beginning.
Can I say something here?
Nick Athanasio, go ahead.
Oh, Nick.
Yes, one thing that we should remember is that the existing building was designed for a lot more square footage than it actually ended up with. So the reason why we have people sleeping in the parking lot, I'm making a point here, is because the building wasn't adequate.
Yeah.
So it's unfair to say that the new building is 3 times or whatever square footage and all that, because we lopped off a big chunk of the original functional size of the building for budget purposes 40 years ago, you know. So let's focus on the current needs rather than trying to compare with the existing size is what I would think, you know. Thank you.
It is what it is.
Is it all right to continue in this topic? I thought we had gotten there, but it looked, is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. You know, I think I appreciate your comment regarding Falmouth, Kevin. I think one of the things that worries me, and I've heard from a number of citizens who have the same concern, is the mounting debt that the town is confronting, particularly with our commitment to wastewater and various other things, and this adds to it. And I guess I'm wondering if the Select Board has seen the analysis many of us have been asking for in regards to how that debt will be affecting what the projections are, what the forecasting is, how that increased debt will be affecting the taxpayers. That kind of debt, you know, we talk about being data sensitive, but that's the kind of data I think that we really need to see. In regards to Dick's comment regarding the size, you know, it wasn't wasted on me to see the report for the school buildings that acknowledged, and I think we all know this in our heart of hearts, but it was put on paper and it requires us to pay attention, that those are underutilized buildings. You know, and so, and then I'm looking at data regarding our size of our town. You know, over the last 43 years, the population hasn't changed according to the data that comes from the planning department. So where I sit, I'm trying to triangulate all of these issues to say, have we been smart enough? And I guess the last thing I would say is, what do we know today that we didn't know yesterday that increased this to 59,000, because 59 million from 45, because that might help us know how real that number is. You know, I don't know, does that include, for example, all the utility work, all the foundation work, all of the equipment that needs to be put into this new building, you know, desks and blah, blah. I mean, what is this? And I asked that question because when I sat on the committee for the community center, and that was 3 years ago, a considerably undersized building in relation to this, we were looking at a $42 million project without anything in it and without any infrastructure. So I just hope that we have the analysis and the data that really can let the taxpayers understand that this is the kind of necessity. Nobody questions the necessity for a new fire and rescue station. That is absolutely not even part of the conversation. I think the question is, have we really looked at who we are and what we will become and what we have that we're not using before we go down that road? Thank you.
I was just going to point out, your liaison was at the meeting Monday. It really would be good to watch that meeting. And any of the materials you want access to, they're all available.
This is a meeting on the CIP, hearing on the CIP. We can certainly talk about the individual projects, but like, we have to talk about the CIP, right? There is plenty of time still to talk about individual warrant articles and projects, right? But there's still time for that. The fire station, we have months to talk about the details in that.
This will be quick. You know, investment in finance has been a real passion of mine, my entire career spent in it. So when Alice says, we'd like to know what the financial implications of any of CIP projects, the $59 million fire station, using a 30-year, funding it with a 30-year loan and using a AAA municipal yield effective today, today's number, will, oh boy, I think it's so big you think I can see it without glasses. The annual debt service is $3.6 million a year. Our total debt service right now is $10 million a year. So when this building comes online, it's going to kick our debt service up by $3.6 million. Now, I think it's absolutely necessary. The fire people and the EMTs do an exquisite job and service for our community. But we have to understand that it's costly. $3.6 million is going to hit the taxpayer when this comes online. And the same is true. I've got every one of the CIP items here. And it would almost pop your eyes out of your head when you see what the aggregate potential debt service is. And I can adjust it for scheduled principal payments if you want as well, and you can see what happens.
Could I just ask folks, Ed, you can do whatever calculations you want. Using the inputs you had, the assumptions you got, that's a number. But please, 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 we don't have a bid number. We don't know what the true cost is.
We've just published this in.
It's not a bid number.
In a draft CIP. That's what we're publishing.
Kevin, might I suggest that rather than talking about these individual line items, the conversation that I think you're hearing the committee want to talk about is debt, and we save that whole concept of a debt conversation for a finance committee meeting, and move this along. And I have to agree, we are all passionate about knowing about that debt, but let's move back to the CIP and do the debt another time.
Right, we need to, I want to provide some clarity about the CIP, so I'd like to get to that page, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Elaine.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm going to do it real quick. We got Scott here. Scott's not intended to answer any questions about debt today, but he was here just in case. The 18th, we will talk about debt. We will provide a presentation on debt during the normal budget hearing. The other piece is that Bureau Veritas is going to be doing exactly what you're talking about, Mr. Mahoney, that their intent is to help structure debt over a 10, 20-year period so that it mitigates the impact to our taxpayers. So just know that we already have that. We have the consultant on board for that. It's just going to be, we have to get all of the requirements, all of the projects in the hopper and get them approved by the elected body before we do that. Okay.
Item question?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
and it may not, it may not be supposed to appear in the CIP, but we have a one-time expense to invest in wayfinding, and they're not signage that the DPW is used to cranking out. It's a complete overhaul, as recommended by the Cape Cod Commission and as at the completion of our branding plan. That's a one-time expense. Where would I find that commitment to taking action on that so our town looks coherent and different? Would that be in an operating or in a CIP?
It would be in a CIP if we had a cost estimate related to what that was, or it'd be in a special article.
Do we have any sense of timing of that investment? Because it's called for in our economic development plan.
Right. Amanda can speak to that.
But it's not in this one.
It's not in what I have for general, right? It might be one of the pieces in equipment or in buildings and facilities.
So I'm working with a consultant right now to come up with the cost estimate. That project should be done by the end of May.
So maybe fall town meeting.
That was my goal.
It really depends on how much it is, right?
Well, it's going to be more than 25,000.
Okay. Okay, so we have the remainder of the capital budget. We have sewer Phase 4. That actually has been revised down to $2,950,000. There actually has been a monitoring piece on it as well that's been removed. I think that was for $250,000. It's been removed as well, based on some analysis and recommendations from DPW. So what you only see now is $2,950,000. Go down to water, 3 projects there. You have water storage tank rehab for $115,000, well cleaning and redevelopment for $50,000, and repairs to pump station for $30,000 under the water capital projects. We have the annual pavement management program, which was updated for you. It's already updated on there for $434,478. And then go down next, water quality drainage improvements is part, and we have this, obviously, these are part of annual appropriations for $217,226. Then we have the priority, the Beach Enterprise Fund, three pieces of equipment, and also a design for the new admin building and repairs to Nauset Beach. Is it Hubler? Oh,
Yes.
Hubler, sorry. Motel. So you see those for $27,100 and $350. And then you go down to Transfer Station Enterprise Fund. There is a roll-off trucks. There's supplemental funds for to finish off a previous truck. I think it's to help. You want to talk that issue to help clarify it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want this one to be complicated, but I'll just explain it. So it's supplemental funds. Last year, we approved $110,000 for roll-off truck containers. Because we've been successful in DEP grants, we believe we can buy those containers with DEP funds. But what we want to do is buy a roll-off truck. This roll-off truck was actually in this capital program for $225,000. We're able to reduce it down to $60,000, combined it with last year's appropriation of $110,000, and be able to buy a roll-off truck. The benefit of that is we've talked about the transfer station enterprise fund and the sensitivity with that fund and how tight that one operates. Our goal is to try to minimize our costs there. So being able to deliver our own solid waste to facilities and cut down on transportation costs will help us with savings. Not only that, with recyclable materials, we can go out for a little more of a competitive bid. So if cardboard was sold for $1 a cubic ton at Site A, we could go to Site B, Site C, see who is going to give us the most value for the dollar just before we're going to deliver it. So it allows us to just increase our margins by reducing our transportation cost, as well as increase our revenue by seeing who will give us the top dollar for the product we have. So that's the strategy there.
Thank you, Rich. And last item on here is from the Ambulance Reserve Fund, and that is the replacement of Ambulance 174, so for $480,000. So that is the capital budget for FY27. Are there any questions?
More than we've had?
Yeah, in addition to what we've already gone through.
Yeah,
Well, now we have to talk about the CIP.
all right. All right.
So,
I have a question.
as a reminder, the CIP is a recommendation of a timeline from the town manager. For the first time in my 3 years, I listened to the input of all the boards and committees and their requests for timelines, and I adjusted them as I see fit, and I'll go through them, but this is my recommendation, and it can change, but I think you'll see some changes in here you haven't seen before. So for FY '27, obviously, the fire station is still our main priority, and we still have some remaining money in there for the exploration of 44 Main Street, which we talked about, which is the design piece, and then the continuation of a project design for Main Street. In FY '28, I moved everything except for required projects, which is Depot Square construction and then the general placeholder we have for land acquisition. Because we need a break in FY '28. There is nothing that, it is very unlikely, as we're sitting here right now, that a year from now, I think that we would be talking about doing 2 additional debt exclusions for the design of a library or for the design of a campus. I just don't see that that's real. And so my recommendation is that we don't have them in '28, because I think people are already worried enough about what's happening. So in FY '29, this is another tricky year, because it's the year where the phase 3 or 4 of the sewer project comes online, that 43.3 million. So I took that into consideration, and I put the library design money here, but I still would like to discuss whether or not we think that's a realistic time frame for design. I mean, hoping that the fire station passes, we're gonna be building that for 2.5 years. I just don't see us realistically taking on another large building project unless it's a critical need. And those critical needs will be identified through the facilities assessment that we have. And so I talked to a lot of people too, I talked to a lot of members of this committee. The biggest fear that everyone has is that it seems like it's a $130 million CIP. And I have to keep saying, but it's not really. We're only building the fire station. Now I'm committing to that on paper, in case anybody is wondering. I'm sure it'll be subject to debate. I have not discussed these moves with the committees who requested them, but I can't recommend to you at this time that we pursue design money for any project in '28. '29, I'd consider the library design if we're in a good place with the fire station, but it's impossible to know, so we'll revisit that next year when we're here. Campus plan phase 2, I've put design money in '30 with an escalator. It was at 4.5 because it was originally based off 45. This is whatever comes next after the fire station. I find it highly doubtful that in FY '30 we'd be ready to go on design for that too, but I will leave it there since this is a conceptual plan. You never know, right? We might spark an idea when the fire station's being built or something with the school, so it is there just in case. I've put the library in '31, just in case. There's a lot of support for the library in this community. I don't know that it's identified next as the top priority. We'll certainly figure that out after the facilities assessment, but the best that I can do right now is say '31, even to be realistic. Main Street, obviously, anything that's safety related is getting prioritized, okay? So I just wanted to highlight this because I changed it literally yesterday, like after living with what we had done the past couple of years. I don't think there's anyone who wants another debt exclusion next year for something substantial. I just can't imagine that, so.
And also, is that okay?
Yeah, please.
In the past, the select board has been incredibly responsive to opportunities. So when we need to switch things out of, okay, it can move from 30 to 28 because there's a matching fund or grant opportunity, it is a plan.
Right.
That's all it is a plan.
But I don't want to go to town meeting with this thing stacked with projects through 5 years when we know realistically we're not committed to those. What we're committed to is this fire station because it's based on need. It's identified as priority 1. The rest will get sorted once we get some good data from the study And then we'll know. And also the regionalization and efficiency study has got to be completed in the next couple of years. So, you know, we keep that design money on here just in case an opportunity presents itself around regional opportunity or like something with OES, but like, there's a lot of things in motion. So that's my recommendation to you. You certainly can, I'm sure you'll get a lot of feedback in the next 2 weeks. My apologies about the order of things. But that's what I would recommend. You obviously are welcome to make modifications.
If I could, Madam Chair, this is a public hearing. I think some of us seeing this like minutes before the meeting started, so I think it would be good to tee some of these questions up for the 18th.
Sure.
That will allow us to do some comparative, but again, given it's a public hearing, I have to ask, is there any member of the public here, commenters that might like to comment, whether in person in the room or on Zoom? There's usually one person that usually comes in the, yeah, so anyway, just asked and answered, so no public. But Kim, I really think that you've put a lot of thought into the adjustments on the plan, as you've said, I'm emphasizing those words, to adjust and deal with many of the things that we just heard. So we are all mindful of the debt burden. For those that may have read the Standard & Poor's opinion of AAA, if you compared the previous opinion to the most current, they're putting some red flags up. We got our AAA, but I read the words just as all of you did. So we're mindful.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm really pleased to hear you say that, because I looked at it as red flags, warnings. They basically were saying, you guys are doing well, but you're biting off a lot more than you might be able to chew. So thank you. And Kim, thank you for recognizing that as well. I think also it's really imperative that we put a bite of a reality sandwich on the table for the people who are doing all the hard work behind these, having the conversations about planning for these things that might not be able to happen. The other thing is, I hope when you have these conversations that you help people to understand the studies that are coming along, because the regionalization study around our use of our school facilities buildings is going to be a very important contributor to all of this. And I would like to also say that, and Kim, you might not be aware of this, but before you came, when the campus plan concept started being discussed in town, particularly at the planning board, we were talking about a broad campus, not necessarily everything in one place. And a lot of that was stemming from a concern about underutilization of our buildings. And I remember one of our select board members often saying we should be looking at repurposing our buildings. So these are the kinds of messages I think really need to be put out there so the public understands the thoughtful deliberations you're giving to the future. Thank you.
All good.
Can I just add a slight comment? Because we were a part of the conversation with the rating agencies about those notes. Their comment is like concerned about the level, but not because it's tied very directly to the healthy. As long as our economy stays healthy, they have no concerns at all. And what they see right now is an upward trajectory, so they're not worried, but it is a large amount of debt that we are carrying. So I think it's important for people to know that the real threat there is, beyond adding debt, is it something happening to our economy here? And so that's the real balancing piece. That is just as important as what we're adding on, is making sure that we're investing in ways to expand and grow on that side.
And if I could just jump in a minute here, Kim, because they also made reference to our commitments, the commitments that we've made to personnel and to long-range commitments on contracts. And so all of that has to be figured into this, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good.
Hey, and I think Nick, you had some comments?
Yeah, I have a question, and this has to do with form and not content. We have the document that says capital improvement plan and budget, and the first sheet says FY27 capital budget, and it has a bunch of numbers, right? And then we get into the CIP, and the CIP has the first year, which is the capital budget. how do I relate the first page to the others? Where do I find these numbers so that I can see where they belong, you know?
Nick, it's so good you bring this up, because if some of us remember at town meeting, this is confusing. This presentation of the CIP for the current year, our capital budget from the CIP plan, generates so much confusion. Nick, I'm glad you raised it.
And
I have a
dictated
follow-up.
by
I have a
design by
fol-
charter, right? We need to change that. Like you
So
need.
is charter driving why we have to present like this?
Yes, because the first year of the CIP is the capital plan.
Right.
Like, they don't have to be entwined in that way, so.
But I'm not asking that, I'm not asking this, that's a different philosophical question. I'm asking a technical question.
Okay.
We have page 1 that says capital budget.
Correct.
And we have the subsequent pages
CIP.
have column 1 that is FY '27, which is the capital budget.
Budget, exactly.
No, wait a minute. Mike, the question I have is, if I wanted to trace what's in page 1 into the subsequent documents, how do I do that?
They should.
I mean, they all trace. I mean,
Should.
they do trace. I mean, the numbers in the capital budget do fall within the individual categories for vehicles and equipment, buildings and facilities, and/or all the ones that you see under the capital budget. So they do trace. These are like individual sheets that fall under the overall workbook.
I understand that, but is there a way to summarize the page 1 so that we know how it combines those
Color
numbers?
code the FY '27.
Isn't
Sure.
page 1 just mistitled? I mean, isn't that the capital budget for 5 years?
It is,
Isn't it 27 to 31? It's not 27.
oh, no. We have a capital budget, and we have a capital improvement plan. Totally separate things.
They
But
bo-
what
yeah.
Nick's pointing out is that first column in the CIP, which the charter says we're supposed to call out, needs to tie back to the capital budget.
Yes. And I would like to have a sheet, a summary, that says this is how these two things tie up.
Right.
Because right now, the first page, I read it, I understand the line items, and we had a good discussion. But how do those things fit into the total below? Because the numbers don't seem easily identifiable.
It's a formatting thing, I think.
I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, I'm not understanding the question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Kim.
mean, Nick, so FY '27 detail on the subsequent pages are the numbers that match the capital budget, right? So maybe it's something as simple as identifying on the subsequent pages, like I said, color code, that those numbers are those numbers in that first column. Like, just so you know that when you're flipping through the pages, FY '27 is capital budget, right? And because they match. If you take each one of those individual pages and then you add them up in '27, that's what you're getting in this page right here. So it's finding a way to show that better. We can work on that.
And generally summarized it in the memo as well. I mean, the other piece, Nick, I think this is a 1-year transition between this and future of OpenGov, which will be much more integrated. But this is using an old system, incorporating the capital budget in the first year of the capital program. The charter requires that you vote on two different things, CIP and the capital budget.
Right.
You're seeing both integrated into each other. I mean, they should be clearly integrated into each other, because, you just bring in a new year into the far end and you just keep on pushing it through. That's the way it should work, right? So,
You know, there's a professional definition of this, which I happen to bring along because I remember that I think the past 2 town meetings, we have gotten completely hung up on the difference between what is a capital budget and what is a capital improvement plan. And that really needs to be articulated, like the second you put that up at town meeting.
Sure.
And I was going to do that as we walked in here, but, right, the two are closely related financial planning tools, the primary difference being their time frame and scope. CIP is a long-term strategic roadmap, while the capital budget is the immediate, actionable first year of the plan. Does that clarify where we're going?
that's absolutely right. And there is conversation, I don't want to get into a whole philosophical conversation, but you have the 10-year, 20-year thoughts. There's discussions about that. I mean.
Yeah, we'd love that.
But, I mean, you can love it as much as you want, but it becomes more and more irrelevant after the 5th year because the costs aren't just accurate
Yeah,
anymore.
I think
Yeah.
Point taken.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the warrant, where Elaine's going, let's burn those words right at the start
Yeah.
of the capital budget. And those words, she said, at the start of the CIP. Just, we repeat it, but you're right, we get hung up on it at town meeting every single year. So, good.
So,
Good job, you guys. Tony?
I wanted to, I was trying to make a point a little bit before. I should give you a little of my background. I was, for my company, I was the guy who talked with Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch for 20 years. Then, when I created a new company, as CEO, I went to the rating agencies to get that. And that was, we got, we're offered a AAA, and I refused it because I wanted to be AA. And then third, I brought a company to the public, which was teetering between junk and investment grade. And I want to reiterate and expand a little bit on what Kim said. A lot of our ratings are not just numbers. It's how critical the management and the politicians of the town are worried about fiscal responsibility and about how the economy of the town is going. That is more critical than actual numbers. I am very worried about the amount of debt we take because I lived for 30 years in a city which can't afford to do anything anymore because it has so much debt. So I'm very worried about that. But I think that our worry about getting downgraded by the rating agencies at this point is not something we should we should worry about how much our taxpayers are paying and how much we intend to spend. So I wouldn't worry so much about where we are with the rating agencies.
Moving right along.
Okay, that's our public hearing, joint meeting with the Finance Committee. Have we exhausted ourselves?
Exhausted.
I guess we have Ed. Ed has some
Ed's
closing
never
remarks.
exhausted. Go ahead, Ed.
So this CIP has several capital projects that have a aggregate estimated cost of nearly $213 million. And each one of these projects is designated as being funded with debt. So over the course of 10 years, let's say, if these projects are approved by the taxpayer, we're going to get about $213 million worth of debt, maybe plus inflation. Now, to give you some context, this is as of June 30, 2024. I would give you June 30, 2025, but believe it or not, our audited financial statements have not been issued yet. Over 8 months since year-end, our fiscal year-end closing, we haven't got them. So as of '24, Orleans had $106 million worth of outstanding debt on its balance sheet. And we had approved, but not yet issued, $41.1 million of additional debt. So we're looking at almost $150 million worth of debt on our that we will be having. Now, our debt service in the budget that we're going to look at, maybe the 14th, I guess it is?
18th.
13th?
18.
All right, I'll be, all right, is almost $10 million. 8.7. Adjusted for the Nauset Regional High School. It's, what?
Doesn't belong.
It's debt service.
Doesn't belong.
It's debt service. That's approximately,
That's a different entity. What Scott's pointing out is.
It's an allocation to us of debt service.
It doesn't fall on that.
It's an allocation to us of debt service. That's approximately 20% of our operating budget. That number.
15% for debt services.
That number unfavorably impacts our flexibility.
It is.
Our ability to undertake additional discretionary activities or services. So what do? We have to defer, not do things, or we raise the taxes on the taxpayers here. And that just makes it more expensive for us to live in Orleans. Or we make it, we really pass a burden not down to families that may not be able, don't have the resources to be able to handle a large increase in the budget or in the taxes. So I think we really, and I think Kim has done a great job and a great initial step of reprioritizing our CIP spending and looking at it not just over a 5-year period, but picturing it over a longer period, maybe a decade, and making adjustments to have it be realistic and affordable, especially affordable. So I just want everybody to know, we got a ton of debt on our balance sheet. In fact, we have $40 million of incremental debt that we've already said we're going to do, sitting on the balance sheet, ready to go on. And now we're looking at $213 million of projects that are funded by debt. So we have a lot of debt coming up in the future. We may have rating agencies' assurance that everything is fine, and we may not get downgraded. However, tell that to someone who's just got a new tax bill that's up by $1,000, and they can't, they're gonna have to say, what am I cutting back to cover this $1,000 increment in property tax? It's a real problem, and I think Kim has taken an important first step, but all the rest of us ought to be doing the same thing.
Anybody else? Are we done? So shall we adjourn? Have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
By roll call. Nick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And Ed?
Yes.
Chris, yes.
Alice? Dick?
Yes.
Yes. The end.
Thank you all.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you all.
We just take a quick motion here to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of closing the public hearing? Michael Herman?
I'm Michael Herman.
Hi, Andrea Reed.
Hi, Kevin Galligan.
I'm Matt. I'm F. Runyon.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Mark Reel, you ready to?
Ready to go. I've been waiting for you to ask. Been waiting for you to ask.
Oh, I forgot we're still meeting.
Okay, we are,
Yeah.
Left
We're at
off.
Water quality, right?
come on, Kim.
I'm in it, Kevin. I'm here. I'm here
Article
for it.
20,
So we're doing go
Three,
back
so-
to Article,
24.
warrant article review.
We were on 5 and 6.
Folks, we're picking up a meeting again. Thank you.
23, number 5
Article
and
23, Mark?
Article 23, we talked about with George. 24 is cleaning and rehabilitating well number 7. Do you have any, we have Rich Waldo here if you have questions on that article. Or if
Just a
you want to
comment.
speak to it. Yep, go ahead.
I think, Rich, with this level of detailed description, you need to say no more. I mean, I've never seen 75 horsepower motor, all this in, this is going to be
This came
printed.
from Sue. She's
love
always
it.
detailed
Yeah.
about her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will note that I think the intent of this one was to be at a special town meeting at the start. Now, if we do not have a special town meeting at this annual town meeting coming up, we may be able to eliminate this article and incorporate it into the capital plan, because I think the goal was to use these funds soon after town meeting. And so I'll work with the administration team to get that worked
let's
out.
just do it. Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Just to be clear,
Hang on a sec, we
when you
got,
get the source here, that's going to be Water Department.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, water reserves, yeah. So, go ahead,
Well,
Andrea.
I just thought we did not discuss the number 5 and number 6 in Article 24, and I just wanted to be clear if there was any discussion to be had.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Article 23?
Back on 23.
Yeah, 23, number 5, Baker Pond
Baker Pond
Management
Management
Plan
Plan.
and Water Quality
This is
Consulting.
alum treatment. Are we comfortable proceeding?
I'm comfortable with that whole page, personally.
So, just a question, on where are we in terms of discussing this with Brewster?
Yeah, that's.
And the state?
Yeah, exactly.
George would have been able to.
Yeah. We still, even though most of you
Yeah,
guys are
we
comfortable,
support
I'm
it.
with Mark. we share this resource. And for us to be applying alum, there needs to be, I mean, I'd love to see a shared contribution to the work, but at least some recognition of commitment to proceed. Does it fit with their plans?
Well, just remembering back to the issues we had with Uncle Javi's Pond.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And a couple of people that were adamant that they did not want.
Right.
And we had to divvy up
Right.
eye-shaped pieces.
Put a curtain.
Put a curtain there and do,
But
so.
this is a great pond as opposed to.
State management.
Understood, understood. But that Great Pond also is like 80% in the town of Brewster.
Right.
And we, you know, where are we in the discussion with them about what they would like to do? And, you
And why
know,
they're not part of the funding request.
and so that's why I'm just hesitant to jump on this right now until we know what's going on with Brewster and are they buying in or are they saying no or whatever.
They've been
Because I'm not
asked.
gonna vote to unilaterally go
Mm-hmm.
pour alum into Baker's Pond if the town of Brewster is opposed to it.
Well, luckily, we have many weeks left on this.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it, and when
Good.
George is here again, we'll talk about it again
For
and
process.
see. Right.
We were so close, we had him here. We-
I know.
So close to getting that answer
All right.
tonight.
Okay, so
I know where he lives.
I have no
OE
problem with
OES
the next one.
Stabilization Fund, this is,
This is your, you know, in the past, you'd have agreed with the Orleans Elementary School Committee about funding this
Yeah.
special ed stabilization fund. They're working towards their, a goal number that you've all agreed on. So this is the turnbacks essentially from what they had, and they're looking for that from free cash. Mill Pond water quality improvements, this was a late,
so
it was a timely addition.
right, this comes from George's, the Water Quality, what are they? Wastewater Management Committee. It's a
we
long
heard
name.
earlier.
But this actually fits with being able to advance the aquaculture. Because there is some permitting, there's a few i's to dot and t's to cross to be sure that we can deploy this and go out to bid with a private contractor. But this should be a similar model to Lonnie's.
Yeah, and it's great as a tool.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please, Michael.
That's good. Yeah, on this one, are we going to see annual charges every year now to monitor this and test this? Are we taking that into account? And
Good question. There will need to, if we actually expect to, in fact, get DEP credit for nitrogen reductions because of the aquaculture, you're right. They need independent scientific testing, just like we're doing at Lonnie's, to
Right.
do that. So yes, there will be ongoing, Michael.
But as of right now,
This is just to get the permitting.
we're not under any mandate from DEP to clean up the
Clean this-
mill
there's
No,
pond.
we're not.
Because there's no
Correct.
So-
EMDL set.
So I would think, and again, I think this would be further discussion, not for tonight.
Right.
With people that are involved in this, that maybe we do some well, we have water quality testing already.
Exactly.
We have a baseline
Yes.
already. And then whether we need to expand on what we do, and Michael, I think you've been out on the boats with Bill Amaru and whatever, just, you know, taking water samples. I don't know that we need to do anything more than that right now, because we're not under any mandate from
We're
the
not.
DEP. And as long as we have a baseline, we can look at, you know, the oyster program there and go from there. We don't need to
There you
add
go.
in anything right now.
That can suffice.
okay, I just wanted to make sure we're taking that into account.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
So,
Article 27 is to fund additional costs for Phase 3 Lakes and Ponds Sewer Collection System construction. I believe this was a strategy that has been used in the past for, before you go out to bid, making sure you have the funds available, and I don't know, Rich, you wanna-
Rich can probably speak to
to
this
this?
in terms of the support needed. And we did do this with Phase 1, or Phase 2, rather.
Yeah, so this is really just a strategy here. It's a strategy to be able to make sure that we can move forward with construction on Phase 3. So as it currently stands, we're about to go out to bid for construction Phase 3, and we're going to have a bid in hand on April 22nd, prior to town meeting. Should the construction bids come in a little bit higher than we have funding appropriation for, instead of there being a delay for us to proceed with construction, we would be able to use this supplemental funds to execute that contract. If not, the town would have to go into a subsequent special town meeting, perhaps a month or two later, to try to move forward with that contract, or even delay until the fall. So our hope is that the funding appropriation that we have is going to be adequate. All indications point to it, but we never really know until we go out to bid and we get an actual physical submission in hand. So should we be able to cover the funds with the existing appropriation, this article will just be indefinitely postponed at town meeting.
Good strategy.
This would appear on the ballot still, just keep that in mind.
But again, in the messaging, just replay that tape, on podcast or any things. This is really just a backup plan if bids come in over. We may use it on another project someday soon. Land acquisition, fire rescue.
This is a placeholder in the case that
becomes a
negotiations become.
I do think we have to have a conversation. I mean, I don't think it's likely that we would reach the point of it being $2 million or excess of $2 million, but
In Article 28?
yes, for Article 28, if that something came to be. But I do think we should talk about possibly borrowing if it is, because you will utilize every bit of free cash and reserve you have. I mean, you could use stabilization, or you could use something else, but if we're able to, I'm not currently involved in the conversations that are happening, but, I know that we don't have the number that was stated earlier, $2.4 million available to set aside for this on hand at this meeting for this purpose. So if that became the case, we'd have to find something else, some other way to do it. I'm just letting you know. If it's a smaller number, if something, anyway, or any kind of land acquisition came in between now and then, we'd probably be able to handle it, $1 million or below, but we don't have it on hand for another big purchase. We just used it, so just letting you know.
We got a few more weeks on this,
Yeah, right. Time is our friend.
sort of. Okay.
Article 29, establishing a year-round housing trust.
Yeah, I really pushed for this.
is nice.
I really wanted it on this meeting. I thought the timing was great with seasonal communities. I really would love to see that Affordable Housing Trusts have a dual role and be able to address more of the missing middle piece. So hopefully people understand this. And we're using the funding that we just got from the grant to do the preparation work, the legal work related to it from the seasonal communities. $10,000 of it.
We'll need a very kind of concise rollout to the public about why it's necessary.
Elizabeth is on it.
Personnel.
This is, we have to update our Plan B and Plan D, so our part-time employees' pay charts. So that's simply what we're looking to do here with this
Getting
article.
the charts.
We did Plan A for 3 years, so that doesn't need adjustment. Article 31, this is an amendment to Chapter 85, the dog licensing. There's some changes in state law, and so council is reviewing our bylaw to address what language we may need. This has been on the radar for maybe a couple years now.
Do we have any more
Information, yeah.
No, because council has really got to dig into what our bylaw says and comparing it to what the state law says. But it's basically has to do with how many dogs you have and are you considered a kennel?
Oh. Yeah,
That's
that
what it
number's
comes
been
down to.
changed
Isn't it 4?
I'd
times.
like to move this to the fall. Is that a possibility?
Well, Kelly has been waiting for some time, and there's an issue with dog licensing, so when she
Yeah,
gets,
yeah.
if someone has, I
happens
think
in
it's
the
like
spring.
4 dogs, the state law basically is saying you're a kennel, but the bylaw doesn't, so she'd like to have this.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's 3. There's a difference between our number locally and the state.
No,
Yeah.
but you all know what I'm thinking.
I don't want dogs.
I
in
don't
the-
Dogs.
want dog licensing or any dog issues on this May.
Kim, you're absolutely right.
Well, let's see what the language needs to be and how in-depth of it
It's not
actually.
worth it, man.
We don't want a dogfight on the floor of town
No,
meeting.
we're trying to keep it positive, remember? Like,
You want to fight the dogs, you want to fight Kelly?
right,
Any of the dogs, which one do you want to deal with?
no.
Okay.
Talk to your clerk.
Well, anyway, it's here, it's been submitted.
I will volunteer to pay all of those extra dog licenses to whoever that applies to in town with permission to wait until the fall. I'm happy to do it. It would be worth it.
Folks, I'm just going to do this. It's 8:20. Can we just?
Thank you.
We're done, man, we're done.
Article 32 is to establish an electric vehicle charging station revolving fund. The idea is to, we're going to be having 3 additional charging locations up and running in the next year. The idea is to collect the fees from those stations and then utilize those fees to pay for the electricity and the maintenance and eventual replacement. So that's what this would do.
That's good.
The comprehensive plan on Article 33.
March 24th, folks, we're invited to planning board.
Article 34 is the exact same article that was on the special town meeting in the fall. It was to establish these 2 special purpose stabilization funds. The called vote was for a majority vote. It should have been called for 2/3 vote, and so therefore, the article did not actually happen.
Lynn
But
Bruno.
it was a unanimous voice vote. I remember that clearly.
You can blame Lynn.
No, I'm saying, where was Lynn in this? She's always looking at
She
that.
did catch it.
No, it was Kelly. It was
Oh, fine, I won't say.
So
That's a good one.
This is we got it, man.
that's it. There's the 2 citizens petitions, which we touched on. Council has reviewed
Well,
those.
Let's
There's-
talk about that. I
Okay.
mean, I think it's really necessary to have them come in.
Exactly.
And I don't want it to just be a meeting where council is telling them no. I think, Kevin, it would be really helpful to find a way to have Tim come in and either meet with council or talk about why or understand, because I don't want it to seem like, we're just doing it. Like, we do have new council, but that's not why, and we're gonna send the entire warrant for them to review. In the future, we want them to be here when we finalize the language of the warrants, right? So, but I don't want them to find out last minute.
Okay.
I'll
I'll reach out to Tim. Which number did you assign it, Mark? 37 and 38?
The 2 citizens petitions are 35 and 36.
So we can forward you the emails that we got from Karis.
Those numbers are wrong on that.
Oh, okay.
I've already
Which is
fixed
Tim's? What number?
Tim's is on here, 35.
Number 35?
Right on the bottom of this planning one.
Okay, I was just looking at this.
We can send you Karis's email from today, but I mean, I think it's important to keep in mind that she didn't have much time. It's more like an initial take
Oh, I
rather
see.
than a full analysis of the
Smart. I
articles,
got it.
right? So she really just gave us her first glance opinion.
I'll send him
So
an invite and,
I wouldn't rest your arguments only on that email. Like I said, I would wait for her to give you some more or get some follow-up questions.
okay,
Have we
Great.
seen that language of Tim's
we
plan?
did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Petitions got sent.
yeah. Mark sent an email with both of them in his second email
I sent them last night,
of last night, or?
Last night.
9 PM.
Okay, so are we done with the town meeting warrant article
No.
review?
Yes.
Good, thank you. All right, we covered the joint public hearing, consent agenda. So we have Pat Perry to the Board of registrars. We had the email from Kelly in there, vote to accept resignation, Dan Meany, Water Sewer Commissioners. Motion?
Move we vote to approve the consent articles as presented in the
Second.
Second.
agenda.
All right, any discussion on the consent agenda? Michael Herman, how do you vote?
Michael Herman, aye.
Andrea Reed, aye.
Kevin Galligan,
Hi, Mark Matheson.
I'm F. Runyon.
unanimous on the consent agenda. Any liaison updates?
You saw mine from the COA.
Okay,
Sorry,
is
Andrea.
that it?
No,
Any others?
the Cultural Council is doing a ton of work. I will report when we have more time.
Great.
I just had one that I just wanted to follow up on from earlier, because unfortunately, the chief had gone offline about the comments about the facilities, and he's really wanted to course correct and let you know how all those decisions, so he's gonna be sending you a lengthy email about that, but I think it's important for the public to know that the town doesn't run the warming centers. It's run by the CERT team, who are qualified and certified officials, and it was only run here because there was generator access, and it was only generator, and there was limited access to rooms because we can't have people, and it was not a shelter. At the time of even the planned opening, we had a shelter available at Nauset, and then, it switched later to Cape, so we sort of got caught in the middle of that. We did have requests, of course, during it to open other warming centers. And Jeff and I discussed it at length, and he didn't feel that we had the capacity to do so. And he also recommended that we be closed on Friday out of abundance of caution, because there were still a number of trees and wires down around the community, so he didn't feel it was safe to encourage people to go out, and so he was thankful for that. So just in case anyone is wondering how decisions get made during the storm, or why we weren't here with Hole-in-One, we would love to be here.
Okay.
We love when people come
All
to
right.
visit.
Any other select board liaison updates? Mark, Beth? Okay. Again, folks, do take a look to see the Fire Rescue Committee meeting. It was really good. I'd encourage you all to watch the video.
The one from the
process-
12th, too.
Yeah,
Both, if you
both
can.
were good, yeah.
You can
All
cut
right.
through.
Michael, anything on liaison for you?
No, not a liaison, but future agenda.
Okay, let's go to that. Go ahead, please, Michael.
Just to follow up on what Mark brought up, which I thought was great about, maybe taking a look at, for the fertilizer, now that we have new council. I'm not sure there's anything more we can do other than our existing bylaws, I said, in the home rule petitions that we've submitted, but a fresh set of eyes looking at it, I think would be worthwhile.
Yeah, good point. And just, again, for the board, I've been working with Michael and Mark Reel to some extent relative to updating policies on environmental section. But also Michael has, as we all came out of One Cape, enthused by the keynote speaker about evaluating our community services and values and things like that. So Michael's put together a scope that we're going to pop in the next meeting to start discussion about, do we want to undertake a study that would get at some of the differences between residential and non-residents, just for discussion.
Yes, no, that's good.
Okay?
Future agenda item?
Please.
To follow up on the private road service stuff, didn't know if that had made, because during this storm, clearing of private roads and we have emergency access standards, but we don't have essential service standards on private roads. And the second part has to do with kind of community resources. I heard from lots of different neighborhoods during the storms about people informally organizing, and it complements the emergency service to check on neighbors, to check on. One thing that we could encourage, not be responsible for, but let communities or neighborhoods list themselves in directories as they organize who's got a generator, who can charge phones, who's going to go door to door and check on one of my neighbors, because I was fielding a lot, and he actually organized part of our neighborhood, and so now as an association, we're going to formalize that. So some conversation about neighborhoods or associations listing, because when people move in or people are here seasonally and get caught, they may not know that their neighbors are available to help out or a change in status. So we could do it informally as a community outreach service and make registration up to an association or neighborhood that's already doing it. It's just that social web, connect that social web.
Any other future agenda? Okay. I think that's it, folks.
So, Mr. Chair, at 8:30, I move we adjourn.
Second. Moved and seconded by roll call. Michael?
Michael Herman?
I, Andrew Reed.
Kevin Galligan?
Hi, Mark Matheson.
I'm Efron.
We are adjourned, folks.